Gather around, freaks and snakes. It's time to get on a plane. That's right. The Grimoire's pages turn to another lost chapter about serpents on an aircraft. And the runes are aligning again. So gather around the internet radio and gather around the internet campfire because it's time once again for, hey, did you see this one?
With its covers tightly sealed and nightmares lurking within, the ancient book stirs ominously, whispering of unspeakable horrors and twisted sacrifices that have plagued the brave souls who dared to peek inside. But beware, for one of our sinister hosts has made a ghastly discovery. As the yellow pages were last turned, a malevolent truth unraveled. Pages are missing, each one leading to a dark realm far more terrifying than the tome itself. A place where madness reigns, monstrous abominations lurk, and mayhem consumes all who venture too deeply. This chilling revelation serves as a stark reminder that monsters manifest in a myriad of forms. And Hey, Did You See This One? Invites you to brave the darkest corners of mind, matter, and mystery in search of the grimoire of familiar killers. Lost Pages.
Oops, I did it again. Hey, everybody, and welcome to Hey, Did You See This One? The weekly, let me see here, the weekly review reaction roundtable discussion podcast where we just have to ask the question, hey, did you see this one? On this show, we take a film and completely pull it apart, leaving no stone unturned. We're your co-hosts. I am Jason, Snakes on a Jason R. Phillips, and Stephen Boba Blackfly Waters.
That's me.
Of course, this is episode 188. The Grimoire Familiar Killers is wide open. There's snakes and goo shooting everywhere, and we're talking snakes
and snake goo.
And snake goo. And if you're playing at home, it's episode friggin' season 3, episode goddamn 39. So I'd like to introduce our guest for this week, returning to the show, star of internet and cosplay, I think is the best description. Please welcome back to the show, B. Dolly. B. Dolly's back on the show. Hello and welcome back.
Welcome
you look very lovely.
Thank you. And if there's one thing I know about it, snake goo.
Oh no.
Same. But I also want to thank you, B, for suggesting this movie for us, because it is one that I've wanted to do on the show for a very long time. So I'm so happy that you decided that you wanted to talk about snakes on a plane as much as I do.
I'm so happy you said that, because I was worried that my name would start to evoke a Pavlovian response within you, where like you hear it and you're like, oh no.
Or
What
every time I
now?
watch a bad movie, I'm like, damn it, B.
Yeah, pretty much.
I blame you for
mean,
every terrible
B
movie I watch.
movies.
Yeah, perfect. Well, that's the name of the show now, and you're on every week. Perfect. You were on for Cool as Ice, and were you on for something else as well? Something last Feminist Masterpiece Month, right?
I've been on for
Clueless.
Cool as Ice. I've been on for Clueless. I've been on for Seed of Chucky.
Right.
And then I think there was one other one.
We almost have you at a 5 times club. You're gonna get your own YouTube playlist here the next time you're on. So look forward to that. We are, of course, talking about Snakes on a Plane, which is fantastic. I think that we all got something out of it that we weren't expecting, myself especially, which we'll break down as we talk.
I think you're the only one who had never seen it, right?
I had never seen it, no. And I thought it was something, I thought it was Soul Plane, but with snakes. I thought it was a parody of itself and not like
racist.
a serious.
Hold on a second. Why would you think that?
Because that's like a parody of like those like blaxploitation movies from the early 2000s. I thought this.
I think that's sort of like it's kind of like Airplane, right? Soul Plane.
I mean,
yeah.
We'll get into it in the brief history, but it is kind of a parody of itself.
Yeah.
Because the internet buzz caused 5 days of filming to be added.
Yeah,
because
they did 5 days of reshoots. It was a lot, yeah.
Like, this movie was partially made by the internet.
Yeah.
Early internet too. Primordial ooze internet.
I mean, sort of. It was like when the internet first sort of starting to be able to have an actual influence. Yeah, like where the voices of the internet were actually being listened to. It wasn't the Wild West, but it was like the industrial era or whatever, like they started making factories and shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was reading a little bit about it today as well, and I was like, this is so interesting. This is more interesting than the movie, but we'll talk about it when we get to that, I guess.
Well, we should do a brief synopsis. So is either, is Zardos around, or maybe Freddie? I don't know who's.
Does anybody want us to do the synopsis? Anybody?
It's time for a synopsis, bitch.
Music. Freddie. He's so rude.
He calls me a bitch every time we do a horror movie, so that's okay.
I was talking to him the other day. He calls you that even when we're not doing it. So I
call me a bitch behind my back.
Yeah, I know, he's rude.
I know, what a rude boy. Listen, Steve, do you want to give us a very brief synopsis? It's a pretty simple plot.
Yeah, of course. So the movie Snakes on a Plane is about a young man who witnessed the death of his own father at the hands of a violent drug lord who beats him to death with a baseball bat. And he's then a hit is basically put on him because he witnessed the murder. And so he has to go into FBI protective custody so that he doesn't die before he can testify against this guy whose name is Eddie Kim, I want to say. Is it Eddie Kim? Yeah. And so he is supposed to go on a private plane, but they're like, that's too dangerous. The drug cartel will know. So we'll put him on the fanciest fucking plane you've ever seen in your life. It's like a double-decker regular passenger plane that has like its coach is like the equivalent to most business class in like a regular airplane, but it has like a private upper level for first class. And the drug cartel gets creative with how they're going to assassinate this man. So they put a bunch of cold-blooded creatures that can get past, I don't know how they get them past, but they kind of brush over it. They're like, the reason we didn't find them is because they're cold-blooded and we were searching for heat and there was no heat. But they also spray down a bunch of Hawaiian leis because they're leaving from Hawaii, so that you get a lei on your way out. And they spray them all with like a pheromone or something like that makes the snakes go crazy. And then within the flight, the snakes are released and all hell breaks loose. And basically the rest of the movie is the characters that we meet along the way fighting for their lives against a plane full of snakes. And do they survive? I don't know. We'll probably figure it out by the end of this conversation. Spoiler alert, they do. They make it, but not everybody makes it. The likable characters mostly make it. Pretty much anyone you're like, I hope they live, they do. They do live.
The unlikable character gets the best death I've ever seen.
All of the unlikable characters, except for one, dies, and the one that doesn't die, he kind of gets a redemption arc. I wouldn't call it an arc. It's more like he's shit and then he hits a brick wall and then his character is all of a sudden different. There's no arc there. He just gets like some sense slapped into him.
The snakes, spoilers. Well, you'll have to watch the rest of the episode to find out if the snakes make it. Yep, that's pretty accurate. B, do you have anything to add to that before we get into our brief histories?
No, I think that kind of nails it. Also, if you are one of those people that can't watch a movie where the dog dies, the dog dies.
This one's pretty brutal too.
Yeah. Also, if you're one of those people
with snake, actually.
True, yeah. Also, if you're one of those people that can't watch a bare breast get bitten by a snake, you don't want to watch this movie either, because that happens out of nowhere.
Or penis.
A lot of snake dick bites as well.
Yeah.
Like they use that joke a lot.
I think they kept writing it and forgetting because they laughed so hard that they erased it from their mind that they're like, or they're like, I don't know, we got to do it at least 3 times. Comedy works in 3s, so 3 penis bites is good.
One of them was Taylor Kitsch.
It's true.
I'm watching it back, I'm like, oh no, Gambit.
Gambit himself.
One of them, you see the dick, pretty much. It's like a rubber dick, but you see it.
Yeah.
And I was like, good on you, Snakes on a Plane, for showing a tit and a dick. You know, like a lot of movies, they'll either do one or the other, you know?
I love that they went into making this movie wanting to give it a PG-13.
Yeah, fuck that. I think Sam Jackson was also a pretty huge advocate for the reason this movie turned out the way it did, which I think it turned out great considering what it is. It's almost exactly what I think he thought it was going to be, kind of thing, right? It's just sort of it had a disappointing reception considering the amount of internet and sort of like global hype it was receiving for months and months before its release.
It was almost entitled like Pacific Flight 212 or something like that.
Yeah.
But the working title was Snakes on a Plane, and Sam Jackson insisted that if he was to sign on, they use Snakes on a Plane, which is what caused the internet buzz.
Yeah. So, I mean, if it was called whatever, the Flight 1, Pelham 123 or whatever, like nobody would have cared. Not a single person would have cared. It also wouldn't have been funny. Like Snakes on a Plane is such a funny title.
I actually, like in my notes, was like, if they would have named this something else, it might have done better. But then I read all the production notes about how, like, Sam Jackson was like, I'm not doing it unless it's called that. I was like, yeah, that's probably for the best. But the
reason he read the script is because it was called that. If it was called Flight 123 or whatever, and he started reading like in Snakes, he would have been like, fuck this. But he started reading it. It's called Snakes on a Plane, and as soon as the snakes show up, he's like, finally, the snakes, and like trains the script up. Yeah, I don't know. I think that like the production of this movie and just the reception of it was sort of like a weird global phenomenon, which is why it's so weird to me that nobody went to go see it, because I was so excited to see this, which I guess brings us into our brief histories. Shall we do our
let's do some brief histories.
A brief history.
So I remember seeing the trailer for this and immediately kind of like gut chuckling and being like, this is going to be the best thing to ever exist. It like immediately started evoking stuff like Tremors in my mind and like Jaws and movies that are B movies but are still good, right? Like you can watch Tremors, you can watch Jaws. Jaws is considered one of the best movies ever made. I'm not saying that Snakes on a Plane is one of the best movies ever made, but they went into the production of this with the earnestness of something like Jaws, right? Where it's like, it's meant to be a B movie. It's meant to be murder schlock and like teenagers fucking and people smoking weed or whatever. Like that's all part of the conceit of it. But to see them doing something kind of weird with it, like different, like you think of a million ideas, putting snakes in a plane and having a bunch of people have to fight snakes in a plane for an hour and 45 minutes. Not something that I necessarily would be able to come up with on my own. But I was so excited for this. And like all the late night shows were harping on it. There was like comic books that were making fun of it. There was so much satire around an already satirical movie that it just like, it made me so excited. So I was there on opening day with like all my friends. We were all so excited. And we're like munching popcorn, watching it. We're all laughing at like when the guy puts the snake in the microwave and it has a snake button. It's like, this is amazing. This is amazing. Yeah, I was so excited. I saw it in theaters, and I think I've seen it once or twice outside of that. You know, they played it on TV quite a bit. but it's one of those things that I don't think of often, and when I do, I still have so many very clear as day memories of moments from this movie that are just burned into my brain forever. So like, I think that this is maybe on my like AFI top 100 movies of all time. If I had to make a movie list of my favorite movies of all time, it would be in the 100, I think. But yeah, the first time I saw it, I really enjoyed it, and I really enjoyed it again watching it this week.
I'll go next because I know B. I'm not gonna be able to top B, and mine is like the opposite of Steve, where I just assumed it was this thing for years. I bought into people talking about this movie. I just assumed it was a dumb like parody of itself, which, you know, that's debatable, I suppose. But I honestly, like I said, I thought it was like an airplane or like a soul plane or like a pastiche comedy, like a Mel Brooks thing. And watching it today, I basically sat down and watched it all in one go, which is like rare for this show. Sometimes I need to like, you know, watch it throughout the week, but I banged it out so fast because it was just, it's extremely watchable. It's extremely,
it's exciting, man. There's legitimately exciting parts in this movie.
It moves. If you're a fan of the show, you know I like chaos in films, and I call them chaos breaks in this, because sometimes what'll happen is there'll just be this series of situations that just turn into pandemonium. And I just love watching all these little things happening, and it all works as this like mosaic of chaos. So as far as my like history goes, I've been aware of it this whole time since it came out, but I thought it was something completely different. And I would say this is like paying homage to like cheesy 90s action films, but also paying homage to like cheesy horror. You know, it's like an homage flick. And finding out that the director of this movie was a stunt coordinator for most of his career was like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's pretty much it for me. How about you, B? Yeah, I know you said, can we do Snakes on a Plane? I know it's a bad film, but I have a doozy of a story. And if you saw Instagram earlier, well, you got a little sneak peek.
So this movie is indirectly an integral part of the most insane part of B Dolly lore that there is. I know this is going to shock you guys, but I have a confession. I like stupid movies.
Oh my God.
Like I do. I know that
this you love Ice Cold or whatever that fucking movie was.
Cool as ice. Get it.
So right. When the buzz for this movie came out, I went autistic with excitement. Like this became my hyper focus.
That's what the doctor said about me too.
But just about and I got life, obsessed, and I was on a punk rock like softcore Playboy site called Suicide Girls, which is not as scary as it sounds, I promise. It's like a punk rock pinup site. And when this movie came out, I got kind of obsessed. And then one night, and I'd like to preface this by saying I don't do drugs ever.
But so this one night I did.
Substances really affect me. And I was going through a really bad cold, so I took some Robitussin. And like cough medication, even in the prescribed dose, gets me high as a kite. So high as a kite, I'm like watching these stupid Snakes on a Plane memes, and I've fallen into this rabbit hole, and I'm like, oh my God, you know what would make this better? Titties, specifically mine. So I storyboarded an entire Suicide Girl set, like drew the pictures and everything.
Right.
And from like start to finish. And I'm like, okay, we're going to be on a plane, and I'm going to have all my friends there. And I'm going to be the one that's like Neville Flynn. And I'm going to have a little badge, and we're going to have all of these plastic snakes. And how do I kill them? I don't know. Okay, well, I'm going to have to get out of my clothes because there's going to be snakes in my clothes. And then what is a snake's natural enemy? Oh, I know, a mongoose. I don't know anyone with a mongoose, but I do know someone with 2 ferrets. And then the ferrets come in and they attack, and then the day is saved. And the pilot just looks at me and is like, "That's great, but like, why are you naked?" And I storyboarded all this out and I sent it to my photographer, and she sent me a message back and she's like, "You're insane. I love you. When are we doing this?"
Yeah.
And as
Did
it
you draw like a
happened,
title that said like snakes in my clothes?
like literally, I have some safe for work photos saved on my phone. Like it's ridiculous. Like literally, Snakes on a Plane starring Lucy Suicide. That was my name. Like,
Oh my gosh.
yeah.
Oh wait, I think when I was looking for that, when I was looking for another photo, I think I saw a couple of
My
these.
little badge.
I didn't realize they were snakes on a plane until just now.
My friends.
Right.
The snakes in my clothes.
That's the
And,
alt title of this episode. Snakes in my clothes.
See, due to budget constraints, the part of the mongoose will be played by 2 ferrets. And then the ferrets in question,
Oh my goodness.
like literally.
That's hilarious.
So I had this whole plan, and
You have
I
a
knew
much deeper
someone whose
connection to this
dad
movie than
owned,
either of us.
an airplane, like he was an airline executive. So I called him up and I'm like, "Hey, would you be able to sneak myself and a bunch of other people onto a private jet at your dad's residence?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, sure, let's do it." So we do it. We shoot that set. The set ends up doing really well. And my friend and I, the one whose dad owned the airplane hangar, kind of fell out of touch after a while, as friendships happen. And then the next time I see him was on the news. He had killed a man over a truck.
Oh my
And then
God.
it turns out that he had actually, his dad's suicide. No, that was him. And then he put a woman in an incinerator. And I'm like, man, I'm glad I never dated him, because I knew him at statistically my most annoying, and I would have been incinerated.
Oh my God. So he was a
Mhm.
murderer. Wow.
He was. Ever heard of Dylan Millard?
Millard sounds familiar.
He killed a
Like-
man named Tim Bosma
Okay, this does sound familiar.
and
Yeah.
Kaylee Babcock
Yeah.
and his father, with a man
Okay.
named Mark Smith. Yep. That
I
was,
listened to a lot. I used to do. I think I might have actually did a VO for True Crime Stories about this exact story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my
So
God.
Dylan helped me sneak onto a plane with a bunch of my friends and a couple of ferrets at 3:00 in the morning.
Damn, that would have been a much more
to shoot,
interesting twist in the
Snakes on a
story.
Plane themed softcore porn sets. For
Yeah. I mean, I'm
Suicide
glad you didn't get murdered, but
I'm glad. You know, there are a lot of moments in my life that I look back and I'm like, how did I survive this long?
like the documentary, if you had been murdered, would have been way more interesting. They would have been like, and then they were doing a snakes on a plane photo shoot when it all happened.
Well, I'm sorry to the people that could have profited off of that, and also my enemies. I live to slay another day.
Yeah. Well, we're all glad you're here on this episode to talk about Snakes on a Plane, and thank you once again for not being murdered.
Yeah. I thought it was just a fun story about you taking nudie pics in an airplane, and that ending, I just looked it up right quick, and wow, wowie wee woo! What a
I
horrible!
mean, that's how it started.
Yeah.
What a horrible thing to have happen.
Also, calling them nudie pics, so disrespectful. It's an art.
How's it?
Jason. It's not. It's an art.
Suicide girls? Are you kidding me?
Yes. I am kidding.
Sorry,
you.
B. Sorry, B. Tasteful.
Literally 20 years ago now. This
Yeah.
happened 20 years ago.
Oh, all right.
Have I
Well,
learned anything? No.
that
Would
may
I
be the-
still do it?
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, I would.
In fact, we're gonna recreate that moment here on the show. We're not. Listen. Wow, I'm reeling. I don't even like.
I mean, that was a long, brief history. That was just like a regular history. But you know what? It was
Sorry
good.
about that.
No, it
I
was worth
talk
it.
a
It was
lot.
interesting. How about
Why
we
am I
move on?
sweating?
Let's move on to production talk.
Absolutely.
And I know we've already kind of gone through a lot of it, but
All right. Quiet on set. Are we rolling? Okay, let's shoot this piece of
Sound. Speed. Action!
Well, as I already mentioned, it was directed by David R. Ellis. He was a career stuntman. He worked on lots of stuff. I'll talk about that in a moment. The budget for this film was $33 million with a box office of 62. So it performed all right. It made double its money, which typically means sequel. But in this case, we didn't get a buddy cop movie. We didn't get a buddy cop movie with Sam Jackson and
the amount of money that they spent on marketing for this movie. They thought because of the internet hype, they were going to make so much more than they did. So I've said this on the show before, Jason, a movie has to make triple its money to be considered profitable, because generally a movie will spend as much on the marketing as they did on the budget, thinking that they'll be able to quadruple their numbers or whatever, right? So if a movie makes double its money, it's not profitable. It's basically a wash. It's like you threw a rock in the pond and you got nothing back. But they were so certain with this movie. And I think we all were, because it was everywhere. Everybody was talking about it. My mom knew what it was. My grandma knew what it was. Everybody knew what Snakes on a Plane was. Everybody loves Sam Jackson. He's fucking Mace Windu, for gosh darn sake. We love Sam Jackson. And
Shaft.
And he's being sort of like the Sam Jackson that we love, and he's starring in it. This is one of the few like led by Sam Jackson movies that exist that is this much fun, right? Like there's a lot of other ones, but they're a little more serious. This is great. But it didn't warrant a sequel, but it also just kind of died. It fizzled out, and after it left theaters, nobody spoke of it again. I'm sure it's still a punchline somewhere on the internet, but it's gone now. It's a dream. It never happened.
Ironically, we talk about there not being a sequel, but I think just before it got released, someone decided to take advantage of all the internet buzz and made a movie that is completely unassociated with it, that is a Z-list film called Snakes on a Train.
Yeah, Snakes on a Train does exist. Oh, okay.
I remember there was like Snakes on a Train, Snakes in Busan, Snakes, like there was like they had like a million different versions of it, and I was there for it, and I would have been like, you know what, keep making Snakes on a Plane sequels. You could either do it so that it keeps happening, Snakes on a whatever, or we just have Sam Jackson's character go through weird adventures where he's like, because like one of his main things in this movie is like, my job is to be in danger every single day of my life, and everything that I deal with is fucked. This is just another day for me. So like, I want to see more of his weird adventures. Maybe he ends up on the moon for some reason. He's like, I'm on the fucking moon.
Him and that main character, Sean Jones, played by Nathan Phillips. The ending seems like they learn how to surf together, and the next they're going to be called on because there's a unique situation involving snakes again, and they're the only two that know how to do it. And now we get a buddy cop dynamic because they're playing that up a little bit throughout the film
like
anyway.
Die Hard, except snakes are in the building.
Yeah, Snakes Hard.
Yeah.
Maybe not that
hard snakes. Yeah.
I think I've seen that movie actually.
Ow. As I said that, I sit on my testicles like a moron. Ow.
Okay. So David R. Ellis, the director of this film, he has some interesting credits as well, including, but not limited to, Homeward Bound 2, Lost in San Francisco, which I believe I saw as a small child.
Which is also, I think, the reason why they picked him for this. They're like, you know what? We saw how good you are working with animals. So we need you to come direct this snake feature.
But he did direct Final Destination 2 and The Final Destination from 2009, which we're going to cover on the show at some point. We're going to go through them in the Grimoire. But, I know, Steve, you love the Final Destination series. Did you know that there was this link between these two movies?
I did, yeah. But it's one of those factoids that kind of like left my mind. I think when I first saw this movie, I was like, Final Destination 2, one of my favorite Final Destinations. I'm so happy that he made this bullshit snake movie. But like I've seen Cellular, I've seen Asylum, and I've seen the Final Destination. I have never seen Shark Night, whatever the fuck that is.
His newest film.
Wait, did you say Shark Night?
I did say Shark Night, yeah.
Like night like dusk or night like in
Dusk.
shining armor?
Not
Night,
a
like
Shark Night.
nighttime, like the sunset and it's night. Yeah, if it was Shark Night, I'm like, wait, is he like the Dark Knight? Like he's like a
Yeah.
shark Batman? I don't think so.
I would go to watch Shark Batman.
I would go Batman too. Actually, while you guys keep talking, I have a picture I want to find to show you guys.
I would actually, I would go back to SG and be like, "Hi, I need another felon to help me shoot a Shark Batman set."
What
Maybe
would
this
be
time
the
in water?
what would be the Shark Knight's Joker?
Oh,
Like a clownfish
Yeah, you got it. That's exactly
That-
right, Jason.
that blows up apartment
No,
buildings.
Yeah.
oh my God! Finding Nemo is just the Joker origin story in this universe.
It is. After losing Dory, after losing his mom, I can't remember that movie at all. Listen, pivoting. This movie had a crazy product placement blitz, I guess, where every scene seemed to have thousands of dollars worth of product placement, including Red Bull, the whole PlayStation thing with the PSP, Dell, Apple, Pepsi. Dell alone contributed over $60,000 worth of equipment. This is from Wikipedia. I didn't really notice that. I noticed the Red Bull, and I definitely was hyper focused on the PlayStation stuff, just because, like, I was like, "Oh, PSP, cool, Kenan Thompson." But then when they're literally talking about a flight simulator that can't exist because that's not how it works, he just says the PlayStation 2. I was like, that would have been brand spanking new at the time. So that was interesting to see. And as we kind of talked about already, co-writer Josh Friedman called the title the everlasting gobstopper of movie titles. And Sam Jackson said he signed on simply for the title's impact. The film blew up in blog and forum discussions before it premiered. So it's one of the first truly viral movie promotions. Also, I remember this time being an early era where comedians and musicians were putting their music and comedy online.
All right.
Sharkpedo.
So this is an era of my life where I really got into just making shark puns and drawing pictures of shark stuff. And the only thing more terrifying than a shark is a sharkpedo, which is a torpedo that is a shark. This is Shark Vader. He finds your lack of fish disturbing. He's also got a little water tank in his chest, and he's more shark now than man. This is a Shark Knight. Commissioner Gordon says to his son, he's the hero we deserve, but not the one we need right now. So we'll hunt him because he's a fish, because he can take it, because he's not our hero. He's not a hero that we deserve. He's a silent guardian, a watchful protector, a Shark Knight. And then there's, of course, the Sharkshamp Redemption. There's Zero Shark 30. There's the Shark of Zorro, my personal favorite. Raiders of the Lost Shark. And then there's Tinker Tailor Soldier Shark, another Gary Oldman movie. And then there's Driving Miss Sharky. I think this is the last one, but there's Jurassic Shark. I forgot about that one.
You gotta have Jurassic Shark.
Then this is just other shit I drew, but yeah.
That's interesting because you're now jogging my memory to when we first met each other and started hanging out, and you were like, look at these drawings I have. And I was like, great. Like, I really like the story that you've developed sort of in a D&D way with the lore that you built. And then I turned a page and I was like, why are there so many drawings of sharks in different movie? You're like, because it's the funniest thing ever. And I agreed, and we became best friends.
I said, have you ever laughed before, Jason? Let me put a smile on that
Let
face.
me put a smile on your face. Yeah.
I
do like.
You are my favorite. You are like the snakes on a plane of people.
Oh, God. Not the first time I've been called that, weirdly.
I do really like Shark Night Knights of the Round Coral as well. So maybe you'll have to make a sequel to your Shark Night with that as the.
I've thought about going back to the shark realm, the shark verse,
the shark pool.
Yeah, the Sharknado, as you call it. You get into the vortex and you just get lost in there.
That's right. Yeah. So we kind of talked about the Sam Jackson famously insisted on the title. The working title was supposed to be Pacific Air Flight 121, which is too literal.
And doesn't tell you anything about the film. When you're going into a film called Snakes on a Plane, you know what that film is about. They're snakes. They're on a plane.
Imagine they tried to hide that fact from you. No one would go see it. Like if the trailer was trying to be vague about what was on it, you would think it was like a Bigfoot or something was on the plane. But like, you know, you gotta show the snakes. You need to make them. I think they even showed the line, like the famous line was in the trailer. You know, like the one that we all went to go see was him saying, "I'm tired of these motherfucking snakes on this motherfucking plane." I'm pretty sure that was.
That's why they reshot it, because that was an internet meme, and then they went back and they're like, "Actually, that's really funny." So they reshot that because of the internet.
I wouldn't be surprised if Sam Jackson was like, "I'll even pay for the reshoots just so I can say that." Like that sounds
well.
amazing.
I think he did offer to pay because it changed the rating was originally supposed to be PG-13,
right?
And then they put all the swearing and stuff in it, and I think that was him. But honestly, like.
Yeah, if you look through like all the media coverage, it's insane about like usually when you look at movies, they don't have this much of a media coverage page and things like IMDb or you know, even Wikipedia or whatever. If you go deeper into like the movie databases and stuff, it's like the media coverage is never as thoroughly covered as it is for this movie. It's like the internet has like 4 pages of information. You're like, okay. And then even
because
TV and
everybody went crazy, and then they went back and they catered to the fans and did what they said. And frankly, that was a double-edged sword, because while we got Snakes on a Plane, we also got entitled fanboys screaming release the Snyder Cut for years.
Yeah. It also got to the point where like this might even have been one of the reasons they stopped listening for a while. They're like, don't listen to the internet. The people who are telling us what to do are the ones who don't go to the movie theater. They're just at their keyboard and they're going to download the movie the minute they can.
And they're the loudest ones. So we're only hearing the loudest people. We got to make a movie that caters to a wider audience. And this is actually a good point. If you went to see a movie, if you have like a snake phobia, whatever that's called, and you go to this movie thinking it's going to be like, oh, a plane crash movie or whatever, and then suddenly it's just snake CGI mess nightmare, you're going to probably have a little bit of a flip out in the theater. And on that note, I thought everything was CGI, but there were a lot of practical snakes in the movie, I guess, when they grab a snake and throw it. But they also, like, a lot of the strike and bite scenes were CGI, but like when you just see snakes on the ground, they were pretty real. Sam Jackson had a no snake within 25-foot clause, according to mentalfloss.com.
Yeah.
So scenes were shot with digital doubles or animatronics. I guess the
probably
snakes
did that
would be
to
the
make sure
animatronics.
that, like, nobody, because he probably was actually a little bit freaked out with them. He probably didn't want anybody like playing a prank on him or something, right? Like, I don't want to make a movie where there's going to be thousands of snakes on set, and I have to worry about people throwing a snake at me or putting it in my lunch or something. You know, I would be worried about that. And I'm not even that. I'm not like, I'm not scared of snakes, but I would be worried if we were on set with a bunch of snakes that somebody was going to pull a fucking prank on me. I don't take pranks well. I don't like them. I had this friend and he had a pet tarantula, and he knew I was like kind of freaked out by the tarantula. Like, I'm not scared of spiders really, but like I'm scared like a normal person would be when you see one and you're like, oh, fuck, I got to get rid of this thing because I'll know it's in the room until I do. I guess that's technically a phobia. I'm just brave enough to deal with it. But he had a tarantula, and he would bring it out, and I'd be like, please put that back. Please put that back. I don't want it near me. And then he would try and put it on me. And one day I grabbed him and I was like, I am going to kill your tarantula. Like, not because I want to, because I will inadvertently squish it. Like, with my body will react and I will kill it. So please don't. And he didn't take it seriously. And I killed his, no, I didn't. I did not kill his tarantula, but I really, I stopped being friends with that guy because he didn't respect my my boundaries. Yeah.
Well, that's a good reason to unfriend somebody.
Yeah.
I only have a couple more little things here, but I think it's interesting. They built a 100-foot section of a Boeing 747 complete with hydraulic gimbals and airbags just to simulate turbulence realistically.
Yeah, you could tell that they weren't doing like the Star Trek
Yeah.
like Captain Kirk thing. They were getting tossed around for real, which is pretty good.
Which is good. And I think that adds to, like, there's sections of this film where I was like, are they on a plane right now? Because it looks so good for this movie being that old. Like, when it gets dark and it's kind of hazy and they're trying to figure out what's going on, I really got lost. I got lost in it a little bit. So good camera work, good cinematography,
good camera. They made
good
it
set. Yeah.
They made it feel claustrophobic, but like you also felt like you were in a giant ass plane. Like, I don't think I've ever been on a plane this big. Have either of you seen a spiral staircase on a commercial flight before? I haven't.
I have not.
B, you've been on Air Force One probably, right?
I have not. I fly coach like a cheap bitch.
Yeah,
the only time I've seen anything close to this is like on YouTube or TikTok when people are like, I took a $10,000 first class Dubai airline ride, and this is my review.
And it
then
still sucked ass. You're
Yeah.
like, oh, really?
You do see a stair. I know like the double-decker jumbo jets have like the staircase up. These Dubai flights have like a room upstairs. But these are
the one character in this
too
movie.
poor for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got upgraded
I
once
even
on
rent
like
a plane to do my Snakes on a Plane set. I got snuck
You
on by
snuck-
a villain.
a serial killer snuck me into his dad's airport. The closest thing I got upgraded on like across the Atlantic Air Canada flight where I got up like a bed, and I was like, whoa, a bed, this is crazy. And that was like, but they knew I think they knew because they weren't treating me nicely. They like threw the hot towel at you, like, dirty bastard. I was like, thank you, sir.
enjoy. You'll never see it again.
You're lucky to be here. Can I have an iPad too? No, iPads are only for rich people, you nasty bitch.
You poor. Anyway, let's stop having revenge fantasies about flight attendants and get
I've
into.
never had a bad flight attendant experience in my life. They've all been very pleasant to me.
It's true.
Unlike this movie where they're really rude to that one character who's like clearly gay, and then the joke is that he's not gay at the end. And I was like, oh, come on, guys. Either commit to the bit or, make it more hilarious. It wasn't funny. Anyway, we'll talk about it when we get there. Let's
get into the body of the episode.
2005. It was the year of our edgelord.
Yeah.
Like,
the year of our edgelord.
we were just being insulting for the sake of being vile and insulting back then.
That's true.
There was no
look
such thing
at
as gay
everything
people
on
yet.
Newgrounds
So.
and E-Bombs.
It really made me
Exactly.
think of the movie Paranorman, which we've covered on this podcast before. And they do the exact same joke, but it's handled in such a way that it's like charming, sweet, and nice. Where you're like, oh, they did the same joke as Snakes on a Plane, except it's not offensive in any way at all. Like, it's actually kind of beautiful. Anyway, we don't need to talk about Paranorman. We've talked about it for 3 hours at one point.
For 3 hours or more, let's get into the body of the episode and talk about this
body of
movie.
the episode. Wait, we don't want to talk about that weird music video at the end? Okay.
The body of the episode.
Sorry, my voice was overpowering your voice, B. What did you say?
No, I just complained because I loved that music video.
It's pretty good, actually. I was kind of like, but my main complaint is like, I don't know who the fuck these people are. Is this a bad?
Oh, see,
Cobra
I do,
Airstrike
because
or
I'm an
something
emo
like
kid,
that?
and the entire soundtrack was put out by Decade Dance. So it was a lot of Panic at the Disco.
Right.
It was Cobra Starship,
Cobra Starship. Okay.
Travie McCoy from Gym Class Heroes. The lead singer of the Academy is William Beckett.
It's funny that every
And then there's a
Emo
Fall Out
band.
Boy Pete Wentz cameo
right in that
It
music video.
is-
in that music video.
Are they like
And
a super group?
Patrick
Like
Stump,
a s-
you see him briefly, and then Patrick Stump from Fall Out Boy is in it
Okay.
as well.
Are they like
Interesting.
an emo super group put together or were they like their own band? Because they sounded kind of like the Black Eyed Peas.
So Cobra Starship is their own group, and then they had like all the guest voices on there from like all of the bands associated with that label.
I think
Okay.
that
Because
that would be that should be the sequel, right? Snakes on a Plane, Cobra Starship.
They're now in space. Just
Yeah.
jump right to space.
Yeah. That was like, because I read a little bit about it, and there was like apparently a contest where a bunch of artists could put forth, like as they do with James Bond movies, sound like sort of like opening songs that would be the intro to the movie, which is literally what they do for every James Bond movie. A bunch of artists will come in and they'll choose from what they want, and that happened with this movie. And I think that I can't remember which one won, but Cobra Starship, I remember seeing that name. So, but I don't think that they won. I think they're just the ones that did the music video at the end, right? Which is like the main theme called like Snakes, a plan for snakes on a plane or
It's
something.
literally called Snakes on a Plane
Right.
with "Bring It" in parentheses.
I was gonna
Right.
ask-
Right.
I was going to ask you guys, for other famous movies, what would the music video at the end look like? Because I've never seen a movie with just a full music video at the end. Maybe you guys have, but what
Right.
would
The winner of that contest was called Captain Ahab, they're the ones who won. But they also, this fucking page, they keep saying SOA capital P, so like soap, and that's like the abbreviation for Snakes on a Plane is soap, which is funny to me. Anyway, Jason, what were you saying?
What other music videos for famous movies do you think they could put in at the end?
So there is one at the end of Clueless.
Right.
It's Supergrass.
There's also one at the end of Ice Ice Baby or whatever that fucking movie is
Yeah.
called. Cool as
Well,
Ice.
that was just
Yeah.
the movie.
Is there one at the end of
There's
The
one at
Seed of
and
Chucky?
Josie and the Pussycats. I feel like they did the Jennifer's Body Panic at the Disco video after that. When I went to go see Twilight in theaters, I think they had Paramore's Decode at the end. This was like the early 2000s was the era of putting the music videos for the movies at the music video.
Yeah,
Or
they
at
have
Because there were still music.
Have the star show up in the music video for like a second, like Sam Jackson when he's reading a comic book and he's like, you never see him on screen with the band at all. It's just like they've clearly filmed that like a year later, being like, he's got a full beard and he's wearing his kangaroo cap or whatever that he always wears.
There were still music video channels, and there were still compact discs.
Yeah, and then if you remember at the end of episode 1, Star Wars: The Phantom Menace, there was a Weird Al video at the end of that.
This is why I'm asking, because that would be great. I imagine there were
No,
screenings.
it wouldn't. Not in a Star Wars movie.
At the beginning,
Weird
though, you
Al
go to see
shows up.
Star Wars. You go see a screening of Clone Wars and Saga Begins.
That's one
plays.
thing that disappointed me, that Weird Al didn't make a parody music video.
All
for
three,
every
yeah.
one of the prequels. Yeah.
No, that would be great. Well, here's this. I played that at the end of our show for months after
Yeah.
you appeared.
And I always made the same joke. That's how vanilla ices are made.
That makes me so happy.
It's the best part of the best part of the movie. It's the best part of the best part of the movie. Yes.
So
No, the best part of the movie is drop that zero and get with the hero.
True.
no, the best part of the movie is when he wakes somebody up by shoving ice in their mouth.
And then says, shh, don't
Yeah.
tell mom and
Don't
dad.
But also
And she lets him get away with it.
Yeah. But also the speculation as to like, was he just holding that in his palm? Did he have it in his pocket? Does he have a tiny little thermos
Yeah, where
full
did
of
the ice
cubes?
come from and why is
Yeah.
it still so ice?
Yeah.
Just
All
brought
right.
a cooler.
We need to talk. We've already been talking for almost an hour and we haven't even started talking about the movie. So let's
That's
talk
true.
about Snakes on a Plane.
Okay.
Let's explore the depths of it in the video.
My immediate reaction to the credits was, oh, not Bobby Carnival. Anyway, he was fine in the movie. It opens on a beach. There's a man on a dirt bike. He's biking around, and I'm like, oh, is this going to explain how snakes get on a plane? But dirt bike guy cracks a Red Bull, And then he finds a guy hanging upside down. Some sort of mafia / paramilitary guy is torturing this upside down guy. Turns out this is a prosecutor, and these mafia guys are just beating the ever living shit out of him. I do like when he smashes him.
Isn't it his dad? It's his dad.
Was it his dad?
I think it's his dad.
Well, he gets blood on his nice white suit, which I thought was a great image.
I do like the baseball slam and like the blood goes everywhere.
Yeah,
like not a Tarantino level of blood, but like, you know, like a good amount of blood where you're like, yeah, the movie stylized. That wouldn't happen probably, but you know, I like it. But yeah, I thought it was his dad. Is it not his dad? B, you've seen this movie a million times. Is that not his dad?
I think it's his dad. It might
Why
be.
did I
his
think it was his dad?
Now you've got me. I'm going
Because
to ask.
there's like a weird familiarity between the two of them, and he's like, get out of here, get out of here. If it was somebody that he didn't know, he'd be like, you gotta help me, kid. He fucking cut me down. The only logical reason in my mind that somebody would say get out of here is because they don't want that person to get hurt. But if it's a stranger, you're gonna beg for help. You're not gonna tell them to run away. And then later when he's watching it on TV, there's like an implication there that like that it's his son. That's how I read it. They would
bring that up later, like my dad was hanging upside down.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right, and I'm not going to dispute it. I just for some reason thought
not his dad. It was just
that's so weird.
Prosecutor.
It's a prosecutor
trying to. I guess he'd be a lot more traumatized. And anyway, it felt weird to me.
Probably try to do more to get him down.
Well, then you know what? That prosecutor, brave. To not be like begging, like help me please, and being like get out of here, kid. You're gonna get fucked up too. Like what a hero that man was. Anyway, he died.
Right, he
like seconds later.
He tells him to get out of there. Eddie Kim is talked about on the news.
Hey, you didn't talk about the first introduction of the main character of the first 25 minutes of the movie.
I did. I said
a can of Red Bull.
Like guy.
No, I'm talking about the can of Red Bull that he drinks. It's like he's drinking a Red Bull, and I'm like, product placement. And like it went in my mind, but I was like, Red Bull was pretty huge at this time. It was everywhere. I mean, it still kind of is like ingrained in culture, especially like younger person culture. But then when it cuts back to him in his apartment, there's like 20 crushed cans of Red Bull on the table, and then 2 stacks of like cardboard, like 24 packs of Red Bull beside the TV. And I'm like, oh man, this guy's really trying to find those wings. He wants to fly, this kid. But also
he's an extreme sports guy. So extreme sports guys like Red Bull. Right?
You have to assume that Red Bull paid for like every sort of like extreme sport shot in this movie. Like all the ones that are like helicopter shots of the motorcycle and like the surfing at the end. You know that Red Bull was like, we'll pay for that. We'll pay for that. Just put Red Bull in there. And then so much so that later on, when like the other cop throws down the evidence bag, it's got a Red Bull can in it. It's like full of evidence and a Red Bull can. I'm like, oh my God. I don't mind product placement, but this was like kind of really wanted to shove that Red Bull can up my butt. I'm like, okay, we get it, Snakes on a Plane. Red Bull exists, and this kid loves it. Anyway, I just wanted to get that off my chest so I didn't mention it 4 other times later.
Right. No, I thank you for getting that out of the way, because this movie is products paid for. This movie is what it feels like. Eddie Kim is talked about in the news. Sean is watching that happen, and they're talking about the murder. Then the goons show up to break in. Sean gets grabbed by Sam Jackson in action mode, and he takes them out, and then they run, and there's a bit of a high-speed getaway. I wrote that, but I don't think it was an actual high-speed getaway.
I mean, it's like half a high. Like there's a bit of a chase.
It's a medium-speed getaway.
Yeah, it's like it's sort of like we should probably go faster, but we don't need to. They're not in a car. We'll just turn slightly. This is the moment though where I'm like, damn, I fucking love Shaft. Like my brain started thinking that, right? When he's like, listen to what I say and you'll live, or whatever. I was like, that's a Shaft line. And also he's wearing all black, but he's wearing like a Hawaiian shirt that's all black with like an interesting sort of like design sewn into it. And I'm like, this is what Shaft would wear in Hawaii. This is a Shaft Hawaii outfit. And because like if we watched Shaft 2000 a couple of weeks ago, and like he wears entirely black the entire time, but he's always wearing something very stylish. And I was like, this is Shaft on vacation. This is a Shaft adventure. And then I started watching the entirety of the movie as though Shaft had to change his name to Neville. What's it?
Neville Flynn.
Neville Flynn. Because like Shaft is like, if they hear Shaft is coming, it's like Batman's coming for you. So you have to fucking change your name when you go to do Hawaii crimes. And then watching it as a Shaft adventure, it made the movie almost like, I would say 5 times more enjoyable in my brain. Because he's still got the Shaft charm. He's got the Shaft charm, man.
He never says it's my duty to please that booty, but you know, he gets the girl at the end, and you know that off camera he says that. So
it's because that line echoes through even the airlines of America everywhere. Everybody knows when somebody says it's my duty to please. They're like, wait a minute, are you Shaft? And then like
Shaft? John
and
Shaft?
we're like, no, I'm not Shaft, I swear.
No, I'm Neville Flynn. And he's like,
Neville Flynn? Damn.
Why didn't you call the cops? And he's like, they're corrupt. So, you know, a cab. But Sean is basically interrogated. He doesn't want to talk. And Sam basically breaks down Neville breaks down that he knows all the tricks. I can do good cop, bad cop. I can come in here and offer you a can of soda and turn up the AC or whatever. That's not one that he says, but that's what I mean. But he basically is like, you're going to admit and you're going to testify because we're going to take down the bad guy. Turns out Sean was planning a surf trip to Bali, but he has no choices. They're going to LA and he's going to testify.
I, in my brain, just got it in my head that what if I recut this movie and just added the Shaft soundtrack to this movie? Would it just like automatically feel even more like a Shaft movie? Like, you know, like the doo 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 boo boo, like the flute music and stuff when he's like walking around. Like it would work. I should do it. I'm gonna call up Sam Jackson and see if he's down to ADR all his lines so I can get a clean verse for all his lines. You know?
Yeah, just give him a quick call up. Also, ask him to be on the show while you're at it, if you could.
He was on our Sphere episode, remember?
Oh yeah, that's right.
That's what the thumbnail implies, at least. Yeah. So the good cop guy, you know, good cop, bad cop routine, like that's standard. This all feels sort of like a standard cop procedural, right? Like it all feels like a movie you've seen a million times, but it's kind of it's wringing the tension out of the sponge just for you to put the sponge back into the water to see it like suck it all back up again. Where you're like, ooh, yes.
It subverts your expectations a little bit too, because I'm glad that he references the fact that he could do all this stuff. But you're coming with me, kid. There's nothing you can do.
I don't know, man. At this point in the movie cop history, we've seen the cop do this 1,000. Yeah. This is a cliche upon itself. The cliche is like trying to do the opposite of the cliche, but at this point in movie making history, the opposite of the cliche is also a cliche. So they're both just cliches now. The only thing he could have done would have subverted our expectation would be to walk in with 2 Red Bulls and slide one across. They both just drink Red Bull
and get literal wings. So
that's
over to
how he really got him to confess. He's just a slut for Red Bull.
Yeah, he's like, I need do you mind if do you got any Red Bull in that vending machine out there?
Yes, it's all Red Bull. Brought to you by Red Bull. I don't know if you guys got this, but Von Aether said that they got fed a Red Bull ad during this. So tonight's episode, if you're watching on Twitch, apparently it's brought to you by Red Bull. So fantastic.
Those red dollars or whatever they call them, red bucks.
We'll get 9 cents. But yeah, we go over to the plane. People are loading on. Some flight attendants are talking. Kenan Thompson comes in. He's security for some sort of recording artist, as it turns out, named 3G.
Yeah, like the cell phone. But which was the highest you could have at the time, I believe, in 2005, right? 3G, yeah. Maybe even 3G wasn't even out yet.
It wasn't out yet.
All right.
The iPhone 3 was out, and you could just get Wi-Fi on it.
Yeah, I think there was a 2G time period, right? They went to 2G. 2G, they started advertising. It's like it used to be 1G, but no one knew about it because we just didn't talk about it. And then it went to 2, and then like 3 was the big one.
Never got a 6G. Just went right to LTE. Anyway,
They're gonna
We find out-
get an 8G eventually, Jason. Don't
Yeah.
worry.
They'll just completely skip over all of it. It's like new 8G. It's going to be a 5-hour flight, so we get a bit of a set time. We meet Claire, who's leaving to become a lawyer, which is like, okay, played by Juliana Margolis. Is that her name?
I think that's just there to tell you that she's
Margolis.
like, it's like she's smart, which like I don't necessarily dislike it. It's just one of those things where it's like, yeah, she's supposed to be smart, right? Like she's not going to be the old woman on the plane, and she's not going to be
Right.
the gay man on the plane. She's like, I aspire to be better than this, which, you know, that's not to disparage flight attendants, because like I think that's kind of a pretty cool job, and like I think a lot of people aspire to have that position.
The sequel to this movie is called Gay Men on a Plane.
It's called
It
Gays on a Plane.
falls under a different bracket of filmmaking.
No, it's still called Snakes on a Plane.
Oh, Jesus.
It's a
You
different.
said it.
And I've watched the porn parody, and it is gay as hell.
In June of all Junes. Yes,
Well,
absolutely.
there's snakes on a plane, there's gays on a plane, and then there's snakes on a gay. And they're all good. They're all pretty good.
The holy trilogy.
Yeah.
So we start meeting various characters who are being onboarded. There's Rachel Blanchard from Stuff. She plays Mercedes. She's a sort of
She's
Paris Hilton
television's
type.
Cher from Clueless. Or sorry, she's Cher from television's Clueless.
television. That's yeah, and she's in a bunch of other stuff too. Like she's immediately recognizable.
Well, it was one of those things where I was like, is that Alicia Silverstone? And then I'm like, no, it's the person who looks enough like her that it can be played on TV. I'm like, is that
It's-
bad
we
girl?
have Alicia Silverstone at home.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's been working like
Yeah, she's a
for
good
years,
actor too. Like I think that everything she's done is she looks like a Alicia Silverstone and Heather Graham got into the machine from The Fly, but only the good came out. You know, it's like all the bad stuff got turned into another mutant with the evil clone.
She also looks like Marsha Brady from the Brady Bunch movie, who's married to Ben Stiller. That woman from like the same kinds of things.
The amount of times that you evoke the Brady Bunch movie, we need to watch the Brady Bunch movie on the podcast.
It's not bad. It's dumb as hell.
I've seen it one time and I fell asleep because I was like 6 or whatever when it came out. We watched it at a cottage, and I remember her getting hit in the face and her nose was flat, and I was like, huh. Like fell asleep. Never watched it again for the rest of my life.
I saw the episode of the show it was that moment's based on, so I'm old. She's a Paris Hilton type. She's got the small dog trope named Mary Kate because Mary Kate and Ashley.
Well, if you know you're Paris Hilton, she's not that much like Paris Hilton. We'll let that joke go out into the ether and no one has to analyze it.
Right. I don't even know what you mean by that.
I don't explain it. So let's not.
Neville and Sean get ready to leave. There's like a weird thing here. It's kind of a one-off. I wanted to ask you guys about. They point at a plane and they're like, they think we're on that plane, but we're getting on this other plane. Is that literally just it?
Analyze it, Jason. It's literally explained in the movie.
Okay.
It's the plane they're supposed to go on, but he's trying to trick them, so he goes onto a different plane because every cop in Honolulu knows that that's the plane they're going on. So they know that plane will be attacked. So they switch flights last second in order to trick the drug lords.
Right.
It's part of the plot. Pay attention to the goddamn plot, Jason.
The police have taken the flight over, and they have to take all of first class. So the people that were going to be in first class are now going to be put in coach. David Koechner, is that how you say his name? He's the co-pilot. He's a great actor. I like that guy. He's from all the Judd Apatow era.
He plays a womanizer. Whoa, what a stretch for him. Plays an alcoholic. Yeah. Whoa, what a stretch for him.
He's Todd Packer from The Office.
Whoa, what a stretch for him. Yeah.
I wrote he's the sleaze.
He plays Rick Packer in this. I know his name's Rick. I don't remember what his last name is, but I mean, he's actually kind of like, he's a shitty character. You know, he's hitting on everybody, but they seem to have this attitude where he's harmless, where it's like, you know, he's being a dick, whatever, but like, he's been nice as well. Like sometimes it seems like he's one of those guys that you like tolerate at the office, but you don't necessarily like. but you don't hate to the point that you're going to bring it up to HR
Right.
or whatever, right?
He also gets bit like 1,000 times. And
Yeah.
just keeps
They
enduring.
kind of give him like a hero's death in this movie. Like he's by the end, he's like massively swollen, like he's been bit so many times, and you're like, I feel bad for him. But he's still making like shitty sexist comments, even as he's like, like trying to like do the plane with like one arm, and he's like, you'd be surprised at what a man can do with one hand, sweet cheeks, as he's like got goo coming out of his eyes and nose.
Yeah, see, I didn't feel bad for him. I'm like, that is every strip club customer ever. I am glad to
this is
watch
the difference. Yeah, like
out of his orify.
The difference, I guess, is that I haven't had a Todd Packer like stick his finger up my butt when I didn't want him to, like, you know, like somebody coming squeezing my butt when I don't want it. But like, yeah, I think the movie is maybe doing him a bit of
regular basis.
I don't think the
let
movie.
Me tell you, okay, you watched all of the snakes on a plane porns. Watching that guy get his was like porn for me.
Right. Okay. I can appreciate that.
The satisfaction I got over watching that guy get bit over and over again. I'm like,
and he turns into like Quasimodo by the end, where he's like half his body is totally swollen up. Yeah. And then like, but even like the main pilot is he kind of like passes the buck as well to our lawyer friend, right? Like when everybody's getting on. She's like, so who's supposed to tell all the first class passengers that they're getting shifted to coach? And he's like, well, that would be you. Does he say kid? I think he calls her kid, which is nice because like she's clearly like, you know, she's older, but he's like so old. He's like, I've been doing this for 50 years and I've never had a snake on a plane before. What do you mean there's a snake on this plane? Not just one, sir. Thousands.
Hundreds, literally.
But I do like I mean, I wanted to ask you guys, like, how did you feel about the introduction of like all the cast members and like as you're watching, you know, it's the classic. This is why I was okay with this movie being on this month, by the way, because like when you brought it up, I was like, well, where do we put it? And then I'm like, you know what? This is a Lost Pages because this is absolutely structured like a horror movie. Like any horror movie you've ever seen, this movie does the exact same thing where it gives you the opening premise. And then it introduces you to a cast of characters that are there to die, basically, or for you to root for. It's like any Jason movie, any Freddy movie that you've ever seen. And I was watching it again this week, and I was like, it even more solidified it in my mind, where I was like, at first, I'm like, is this going to work? And then I realized, no, this absolutely is a horror movie. And
this moment is the thing horror moments.
Yeah, but this is the moment that solidified it for me to the point that I'm like, I was confident that we made the right choice, is when they start introducing all the cannon fodder characters or the ones that you're supposed to root for, and they're all going to have some sort of weird little idiosyncrasy or like something interesting about them, or just like their circumstance alone will be interesting, right? Like we've got the shitty rich guy who's clearly just like there to die at some point, but you know he's
with horrible hair plugs too.
But you know he's gonna do something terrible along the way. You've got the absurdly rich rapper who has like his two friends from childhood who are his bodyguards now that he treats like shit. And you're like, okay, well, this guy might die, but maybe he won't. You've got all the flight attendant crew. They're all kind of interesting in their own way. I mean, maybe interesting is a little bit of a stretch, but like they are there, and I'm like intrigued by each of them in a different way. They don't mold together into one thing. Like they all have something specific about them. There's pregnant lady. There's sort of like
nervous flyer and wife.
The nervous flyer is the one guy that I'm like, oh, I hope this guy lives. Like as soon as I saw him having an allergy attack, I'm like, this is my guy. This is my guy. He hates flying and he has allergies and he's scared of snakes. Holy shit.
Spoilers, he dies. Spoilers.
Don't say that.
He also has a pivotal moment in helping the flight attendants realize what's going on. Sort of pushes that narrative along a little bit.
I wanted him to live. I thought that it would be great if he had all these problems, but like the one thing that he wasn't scared of was snakes. Like he just hated them. And he's like killing a bunch of them. Like, it would be great. Anyway, my question was, how did you guys feel about this opening sequence? Was there a particular character that you gravitated towards? And did you have that moment that you have when you watch a horror movie where you're like, I hope this person survives. I hope this person dies. And maybe if there's one of those two things that stood out the most to you guys.
I definitely wanted a lot of the irritating men on there to be bitten by
die.
snakes. I was
Right.
rooting for the snakes. And then, like, I think I was really, really hoping that Taylor Kitsch would live because I'm shallow and he's really hot.
He's so hot. It's uncanny.
So
I was like,
hot.
wow, look at Gambit go. And he's with the like he's with like a porn star looking kind of woman. I was like, yeah, dude, yeah, get it, buddy.
Do they
I-
even have
I-
lines, the two of them?
Like not really. Like, oh yeah, we're gonna
Like sex
fuck
lines.
now. Yeah.
I think as soon as I saw them making out in front of everybody, I was like, they're dead. Like, slasher movie
Yeah,
rules
it's the
apply.
rule of the horror movie. The
Yeah,
slut dies
absolutely.
first.
Yeah, and they're
That's
both
when-
sluts,
that's-
both of them.
That's the moment watching the movie for the first time. I'm going, oh, this absolutely fits into this because they're gonna absolutely try to join the Mile High Club, and that's gonna sort of set everything off. And that's just from watching horror movies, just knowing the tropes and the telltale signs of what's going to happen. I thought it was executed perfectly. And to answer your question, Steve, I really like seeing. That's another thing that
I really like seeing
noticed.
people fuck.
No. Before
Oh,
that,
sorry. Right.
I like seeing the like. Here's the cast of characters try to figure out who's
Absolutely.
going to live and who's going to die.
That's why I asked the question.
Yeah.
Because there's like this game that I've heard about that I've never played that I'd like to, which is you watch a slasher movie that no one's seen before, and then all of you pick a character that you want to live. But you only get to pick one. And then throughout the movie, it's a drinking game basically. And you drink anytime your character gets into danger. If they die, you have to finish your drink. If they don't, you don't. And like, so like, then when you get eliminated, you can either pick a new person or you can stop. And
So
like,
it's like a reverse death pool.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like a life pool. And yeah, anyway, like this kind of like I got the vibe right away where I'm like, oh, we're being introduced to all these things. Just like even like the woman who doesn't really have any lines, she's just there to be like she's sort of like a short, sort of out of shape woman who's older, and like she's there to be like sort of a comedic visual relief, I suppose. She even like falls asleep and there's like a snake inside of her shirt. I kind of was like really hoping that she would sleep through the entire flight, and like the joke would be that because she slept the whole time, she was like, what the heck happened? Like she doesn't die, and she still had her seatbelt on, so when everything was getting sucked out at the end, like the snake would get sucked out and then she could just walk off the flight at the end. That would have been a cute joke, but they had to make it, I think it like went through her eye or something really gross.
It bit her in the eye, and then when they show it later,
and like she was by herself, which means she went on like a vacation to Honolulu alone and stuff. And you're like, I kind of like built up this lore around this woman who I'm like, I want her to live, and I really want this billionaire to die immediately, even though I know he's probably going to survive all the way to the fucking end and then die horribly. I wasn't necessarily correct. He dies midway through,
about halfway. Yeah.
as soon as he does the most horrific thing you can possibly do in a situation like this, he dies. So you're like, I think even the people who made the movie were like, he has to die now. Like, we can't let this guy linger around. Like, everybody's gonna start being like, feed him to the snakes. Like, it's gonna turn into like a Lord of the Flies. Send him out the airlock, and it's like, there's no airlock. It's an airplane.
To
We're
be
not
fair,
in-
I was like, feed him to the snakes from like the moment I saw his face.
Yeah. The moment that he like that
Snakes
he's an
on a
asshole
face.
to the moment that he's an asshole to a flight attendant, I'm like, get rid of this guy.
Yeah.
I'm gonna move the plot along.
I'm going to a Pride event this weekend called Snakes on a Face, actually. Just kidding.
I love it.
Can I come? I want to see what that
No,
looks like.
Jason, you're not allowed to come.
Oh, God damn it.
But everybody
Never
else.
I
let me
feel like
come.
that misses the entire point of the event.
It's true. It's true. You're right.
All right.
Yeah, let's move along. I just wanted to ask that question because like it's so slasher movie that I was like, I got excited, or I'm like, this is a slasher movie. This is why I was like, this is okay. This is great.
This movie is like equal parts action, thriller.
I do have to say 3Gs though.
horror,
It doesn't make any goddamn
Jurassic
sense.
Park.
He's like a germaphobe, but he's like grabbing a stranger's tit, and like he doesn't like when people touch his hands, but like he's touching people. Like his germophobia almost seemed like performative. You know, like, you know, when somebody identifies with something that isn't real, but like it seemed like he was just doing, or they just didn't understand it. I don't know. I don't know how it was meant to work, but
Or he was just a dick and didn't want normal people touching him.
That's
probably
probably what it was. Yeah, where he's like,
just volatile.
That's how I felt when I got up to first class on Air Canada.
You're like, this is it for me. I'm now one of the rich people.
Are you telling me that you got upgraded? Ugh, I can smell you from here. Like, what do you mean? It's like, well, we can see the stink lines coming off of you, sir. I'm like a cartoon character, like flies around me and like stink line coming up.
So we see the hired goons around the plane during all of this. They're spraying. I guess I wrote pheromones because I just assumed that's what it was, and I was right. On all the lays. And
I mean, they do say that at the beginning.
And they're like, we're gonna,
as the guy's spraying it, he says, we're spraying them with pheromones. It's gonna drive them fucking nuts.
And the cats down in the hold too are like going nuts because there's snakes all over the place. And then we go over to Claire, and she has to tell the first class people they have to sit and coach. First class on this flight looks like a living room, is a note that I wrote, but it looks like a living room in a mansion. And we find out that Neville has a partner, a cop partner, who they've been friends. They've been cop friend partners forever. Agent Harris.
We already met him.
Then
he was the other cop in the interrogation room.
Oh, right. Yeah. But we also are introduced to Bobby Carnival. I never got his actual name because I'm like, that's Bobby Carnival. But he's going to be the man on the ground, I assume, which I was also right about. And he loves his family, but it's obvious he's bored. He wants to be out.
When you say you assumed when he was not in the plane in an office somewhere talking about how he wants to live with his family, you're like, I assume he's going to be the man on the ground.
Well, you know.
He's not on the plane. Yeah. All right, go ahead.
They have Eddie Kim, who has been arrested. He's under surveillance. He's being watched.
He's just being watched. I don't think he's been arrested. Is he?
No, he's under surveillance. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. He's like, we got 4 units on him, and he's he keeps kung fu fighting his friends for some reason. I don't know what's happening.
Well, this is like the last time we see him in the movie, just him like training, and then he's like, we got to take this plane down because he saw me.
There was a point,
and that's it.
There was a point today where I'm like, did I like stop paying attention to the movie at some point? And I wanted to ask you guys, like, is there another point where we ever see him again, or is this the last point we see him? Because like
just referenced.
I thought I watched it pretty, intently, but I thought about it as well, and I was like, I don't think you ever see him again for the amount of like hype up this guy gets. The movie just kind of ends. But like, I'm kind of glad though, because a movie like a Die Hard or like something else would really want to wrap up the Eddie Kim part of it in a satisfying way.
Because he wasn't the villain. The villains were the snakes.
You're right.
Everybody wasn't there to see him kill people. Everyone was there to go see snakes kill people. That's why we all went.
Yeah, we're not here to see you, Kim.
Samuel L. Jackson swear and chew scenery, and people to die in horrible ways from the snakes. Like,
ironically, Eddie Kim is such a Shaft like villain.
He is, yeah. He's more shafty than like even Patrick Bateman almost. Like he feels more like a Shaft villain than Patrick Bateman. I kind of, like there's like a level where I'm like, the guy who's like a kickboxer or whatever. He's like, I was doing a kickboxing tournament, and like you only get to see him sort of in action like twice throughout the entire movie.
He doesn't have a great resolution either.
But he does punch a snake to death, which is pretty cool.
This whole part of the movie is just that.
Yeah.
And he saves the one woman.
Yeah, he grabs the snake and then throws it. Like they're like this, and he's just like throws it away as it's about to bite somebody, which is pretty good.
There's this we're still being introduced to the characters. The rich businessman has to sit between a dog and a baby. He's called out for his shitty hair plugs. 3G comes on. He hates being touched. Is a germaphobe. Troy has a
he's
PSP.
Also rude to his friends. He like makes fun of that woman. The woman who I'm like, I wish she lived. She comes on and he's like, you love that. You imagine the two of you made a baby. You'd have like a 20-pound baby or whatever. And then he laughs and they both laugh. And then as soon as he goes down, the other guy just like stops. And he's like, yeah, fuck you. You can tell he's been making these jokes probably since they were kids, kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
It got old 20 years ago, buddy. Stop.
Taylor Kitsch comes on. I don't think his name is actually referenced because he's such a like nothing character, but it's just like what a beautiful horror protagonist who's going to get killed. Is this like his first thing?
Because you call him a protagonist? He's literally like a cannon fodder bystander.
Yeah,
He's just
they
hot
didn't even
meat.
give him a name because they didn't want us getting attached to him.
Yeah.
In the credits, his name is Hot Meat. That's what his name
Oh.
is.
Okay.
I'm just joking. I don't know what it was.
No, I believe you.
Yeah.
I believe you. I'm
think
looking at
that's
the
credits
IMDb.
for
Oh,
the
yeah,
other
what-
movies you were watching.
It's true. They were all called Hot Meat though, and I was like,
That was just
well,
the name
you
of
must
the
be.
movie we're watching.
Hot Meat. Good title.
I'm gonna see if I can find him real. His name is Kyle. Well, that tracks. Yeah, thanks, Threk.
Yeah, that was Kyle behavior.
Kyle behavior
He
for
did
sure.
seem like a Kyle, yeah. I was like, he's hot, but I didn't pinch the gambit because I have only watched that Origins movie once, and I don't know what else he's in. Is he in other stuff? Was he in that John Carter movie? Got John Carter on Mars or whatever?
He was
Is
in
he
a few
John-
things.
Is he John Carter from Mars?
I think he is John Carter from Mars.
He is John Carter from Mars. Yeah, and
Yeah.
he's also from Friday Night Lights.
All right. So I'm more interested and sexually attracted to a man that goes to Mars than I am a football player.
The football guy with CTE.
Ooh,
But I
he's
mean,
from-
if you mold them together,
What were you gonna say, B?
he's from Canada. He was also in True Detective.
Yeah,
oh.
he's
True.
also in
Also-
Battleship.
Oh, he's also in True Detective. That's another movie I watched last week. All right, I'm gonna stop with those. I'm gonna stop with
they
those
got more-
jokes. I think it's getting
They
a
got
little
more
bit.
praise for everything these days. We meet the military guy who's got the two kids that he's leaving. Claire says that they can meet the rapper 3Gs. The old lady flight attendant.
It is
I know-
presumptuous of her to assume that those kids give a shit about 3Gs, though. But I mean, I guess in this
Right.
world, the Snakes on a Plane world, he's like the biggest star who ever existed. Like,
And yeah, like the most popular rapper ever. Of course, the kids are going to be into.
but only the one kid seems interested. The other kid is like, who? Like that kid's like clearly watching fucking Looney Tunes and shit still, right? And he's like, I don't know who that is.
No, he's like, I only listen to Atomic Starship or whatever.
Cobra
Atomic
Star
Cobra
Planet.
Snake
Yeah.
Plane. Yes.
Yeah.
Nailed it. The old lady is from Things. I recognize her from the horror movie where she's like, your baby is in hell or whatever. And then she
That's-
climbs on the ceiling.
That's not the same woman, but okay.
Oh. Is she in V?
Her name's Lynn Shay. She's in like I believe she's in like a bunch of Lynch stuff, and she's in the
Right.
Insidious movies. The
Insidious, yeah.
Yeah, she's a journeyman actor who's been around forever. She's in The Quarry. I forgot
She's in the Quarry. Yeah.
You've never played The Quarry. You
I know what it is.
I
but it's
love
the
The
only one
Quarry.
I haven't. It's the only one. I
Wait, you
haven't
love The
played.
Quarry?
I
Oh.
love The Quarry.
We were gonna do a Quarry playthrough with our primary guests. So
I've been
Yeah, let's
trying
do
to
it.
get people to do a Quarry playthrough with me where we have to, because they've got the couch co-op where you
Yeah.
can hand the
Yeah.
controller back and forth.
But you can also just play along like with 8 people online as well, where you're all just like in like almost like a movie theater environment where you're just sort of like existing, and then you can vote on like what people do and stuff. It's fun to watch it as
I've
well.
never played any more than couch co-op. That sounds like so much fun. I love
All right, well, we have another one, Jason. Mark it
I'm
down.
in.
The
I'm
Quarry.
in.
But yeah,
Threck
she's,
wants us to do it.
She's a
Yeah, there's a super cut of me screaming while playing that on my Twitch.
I really like that game, but I also like all the other the Dark Picture stuff too. There's a couple of playthroughs on our site.
That's
not
true.
our
Check
site,
us
on our
out.
YouTube channel. You guys should watch it.
It's mostly Steve and Brian.
It is actually entirely me and Brian, but
Yeah.
yeah, we are kind of funny. We get into weird bickery like arguments where we sound like we're married, or I'm like, if you don't stop blaming all these deaths on me, I'm gonna try and kill you for real when I see you next time.
So we get the pre-flight safety check and we're off. Tiffany talks to Sean. pours him a drink. Tiffany is one of the other flight attendants. She describes a reenactment she saw of what Eddie Kim did to one of his other people that he's taken out, and it includes
They called him
taking the guy's eye. Yeah, victims. Thank you. Took his eyes out and fed them to pigs. I forgot the word victims. I'm sorry. Okay.
I mean,
As
we're
the-
victims right now listening to this goddamn description, but go ahead.
As the altitude hits 35,000 feet, we see the snakes. How's that for a description?
It was all
Male
right.
flight
It was pretty good.
male flight attendant talks to kickboxer guy, does a kickboxer move, pulls his calf, I think, or thigh.
This is sort of like the third gay joke in a row where like he's like, me and my girlfriend love it, and then he's like, yeah, sure, girlfriend, whatever you say, and then you know, like it's almost like when somebody like rudely calls somebody a twink, and like it's like used as a slur and not like a term of affection or whatever, and you're like, this seems like it's getting rude. I'm starting to feel the same way with like when people say zesty, you know, like people are starting to use zesty as almost like, it's almost like saying the F slur at this point. It's like, you need to stop saying zesty because you're using it in a way that is rude. This movie was grating on me where I'm like, all right, we get it, guys. Not everybody needs to be. And then it's like when he's like trying to suck the guy's butt, he's like, I'll do it. He's like, get this man away from my ass or whatever. You're like, okay,
Yeah.
This movie is really relying on this as its main crux for humor. And I kind of was like, I got a little bit sick of it throughout, but
It was a transitional period for film, especially these kind
are
of
you saying
comedy.
this is a trans film? Just kidding.
No, from
Trans rights or human rights?
1998 to 2008, it was just 10 years of edgelord, especially for movies like this.
Yeah.
Like it was like,
And I will say that for the
being offensive is funny.
yeah. And I mean, this movie is at least doing a borderline good job of not being super offensive about it. It's just being like, isn't it weird? And like, he's being fine. It's just everybody else that's being weird about it, which is like, yeah, that's kind of where we were at that time, I guess. Anyway, it didn't like make me throw my hands up and be like, this movie's homophobic, but I was just kind of like, this is dumb. It's just not funny, I guess, is my main problem. There's so much more they could do. And also the guy was sort of like being flirtatious to it to the point where it wasn't like super offensive, but at the same time it was like, if you're gonna do it, then do it, man. Like, you're doing this middle of the road thing here that is bugging me. It's not making me offended, it's just bugging me. Like, just fucking go for it.
We get kind of that sweet moment between the nervous guy and his wife. It's like, why aren't there a lot of people on this plane? She's like, it's a red eye. And she's like, if you're so afraid of flying, why did you even want to do this trip? And he's like, because you wanted to go to Hawaii, which I thought was,
I gotta
pretty
say, when it comes down to the hotness of the men on this plane, this allergy man was the one that I was most attracted to, because I was like, he seems like the most caring and nice human, but he's also like being needy, and like I know that I could help take care of him because I know so much about allergies. So like this is the man that I want to be sitting next to.
I don't
And
even
it just
think
seems
he's in my
nice.
top 5.
Well, you know what? I'll
A
take
guy
him.
with Thomas J energy? No.
I like him. And you can also take fucking Gambit, because you know he's at that level of hot and intimidating that I'm like, no thank you. No thank you. You can go in the bathroom with whoever you want, not me, please and thank. He'll be too aggressive with me.
I'll get my tidbit off. I paid a lot of money for these.
get my tidbit off.
Yeah.
Neville and Sean talk.
That snake is gonna owe me a lot of money.
Right?
Yeah, I charge $75 a bite. Sorry, that was rude.
Yeah, it's at least 120.
Double it and pass it to the next guy. So
Didn't sign up for that either.
Oh no, that's
a whole
the
other movie.
connotations. The connotations. Listen, Neville goes downstairs to check on Coach, and he meets Claire. She's pissed about police commandeering the plane. There's the "you people" joke, but also they kind of have a little bit of
this
they
was also
immediately have a bit of
after
chemistry.
the like king of you people jokes that like I don't think can ever be topped again, which is the Tropic Thunder one where like he says, "What do you mean, you people?" And then the actual black guy says, "What do you mean, you people?" Like there's no beyond that joke, right? Like that joke can never be done again because it's already been perfected. And this is like a moment, but it's I guess it's just there to show that he's kind of like a charming Shaft like character, you might say. You might say that he pulled a Shaft. Charming as fuck, because as soon as he said, "I'm just messing with you," she like immediately let her guard down. And she's like, "Okay, this guy seems maybe like he's kind of nice."
3G meets.
Feel you have thoughts? No. Oh, sorry. You were just hiding a yawn. I thought you had like you were about to say something, but you were just like, "I'm trying not to yawn on camera." Okay.
I got a lot. There's a lot of stuff in this movie we got to get through. And
we don't need to talk about every single little tiny detail in your goddamn notes, Jason.
Okay,
move on. You know.
Okay, well, more shots of snakes, and now a timer starts.
Well, we haven't talked about when they all burst out from the vents.
Well, that's this scene. The snakes burst out of a cage that's behind the lays. And we learn that there's snake vision. There's snake vision in this movie, and we see a snake
go up
to the cat.
This again, this is like horror movie, right? It's Jason Voorhees vision. It's Predator vision. It's every sort of horror monster that you know of. The snakes have
my favorite snake vision in the whole movie is it looking at a snake skin boot and then killing the pilot. I thought that was great.
I think I think a snake is looking at me right now.
Oh my.
I turned on the green light on my lights. Hold on. Oop, now it's blue.
Snake. B is looking at Steve right now, and it went green. I put it together. Speaking of green, Gambit and his girlfriend go to the washroom to smoke weed. A lot of stuff is
like the first attack though, is them, right? And then like the gay man who isn't gay and the woman from all the Insidious movies is like they're having fucking wild sex in there in that bathroom. Yeah,
they were originally.
They were,
really got loud when the snakes started biting them in the genitals.
And then when
they're both
died,
like critiquing their sex technique, which is
and she's like, "Oh, we couldn't last," because they are like, "Ah," and then it stops because they both die.
Yeah.
They smoke weed and fuck, which is very horror movie. They join the Mile High Club.
I also love that the smoke detector in the bathroom just looks like a regular smoke detector in your house. Like an airplane wouldn't have like one that's built into the ceiling.
Well, they also like open a vent, and I'm like, is that really going to stop the smell of weed smoke from going out? This plane is pretty chill about everything that's going on up until the snakes started dying.
But I mean, this is the moment where like the movie became classic horror. Like these two horny fucks couldn't, one, not fuck on the plane, two, not fuck on the plane after smoking weed. They had to smoke weed first before they could have sex. Like what is going on? It's a 5-hour flight. It's not like they were on like a 13-hour flight to Australia or something, right? Like they're just on like this short-ish flight.
But then on top of there being snakes on this plane, they have to also fly through a storm. So we're showing the storm starting to happen. I know it happens sometimes, but it's like, is this a movie about a storm hitting a plane, or is it both?
It's both.
And well, it's both. The snakes are on the plane. They start coming through the vents. They start showing people with no shoes on to up the tension, which I thought was great. There's a douchebag in the stall. He's like, "Hey, I could take a note. What does he say? He says something like he looks in the mirror.
I think he says, "Hello, big boy," to his own dick.
And
then you see it getting bit, and you're like, it is pretty big. Like it's not like a little dick, you know.
As the snake comes up out of the toilet, he pees on it, which I thought was hilarious. And then he does get dick snaked.
He also he smashes his head into the back of the mirror, and then his head is just bleeding so much. Where I'm like, wow, he really injured the back of his head. I think that's there just for our visual sort of excitement to be like, oh my god, blood! That's so spooky.
Let's go in horror.
like I don't know. Like I've injured my head pretty badly, and it's never bled that much. There's very, unless you hit the brain, and the brain doesn't bleed that much. So like, you know, there's not going to be that much blood coming out of your head, folks.
Well, I don't know. The head bleeds a lot. If you've ever watched professional wrestling,
But not like that. Not like a streak of blood that is like a Sharpie across the wall where the blood is going to be like a marker on the wall, you know?
he was shocked and he hit his head real bad.
Okay. I'm wrong, I guess. Anyway,
I'm not saying you're right or wrong. I'm just having a conversation with you. Huge snake goes up a woman's dress, which you already talked about a little bit. A snake goes into Mercedes'
and who did nothing wrong to anybody. She just got drunk and fell asleep. That's all she did. All I wanted was for her to sleep through the entirety of the. Imagine that snake became her friend at the end, and she walked off and still had the snake, and she's like,
She just has a
"Isn't
snake
it
now.
cute?" You know, like why
She
not?
can hear it speaking English
Why do we have to get her to die? I don't know. She didn't do anything wrong.
in such a horrific way too. We'll get to that in a sec.
The movie
there's a-
just made fun of her the whole time too. Like the whole point of her character was that she was like, "Ew, a woman who's older, gross. Isn't it gross that she's on this plane?" I didn't like it. It goes hand in hand with like the backhanded gay jokes where I'm like, this is not funny to me. And it never has
because
been.
it wasn't just snakes on a plane. The real enemy was the misogyny on the plane.
You're right. You're so fucking right. What the hell, man?
Misogyny on a plane. That sounds terrible. We get a
I
a
have
horror
watched
movie, like-
Misandry on a plane, not Misogyny on a plane. Though.
Misandry on a plane?
I refuse to watch that one. Yeah.
There's a horror movie trope that we often see before the things really hit the fan, where there will just be like a jump scare of something, and it's Troy playing his video games, and then 3G says, "Are you playing that video game, or is that damn video game playing you?" Which I laughed out loud at because I'm like, what a cheesy line to put in. As the snake goes up the woman's dress again, making fun of her, she like gets horny over it. And at that point,
She
the
doesn't
storm
get
intense.
horny. She's just giggling. Do
No,
you
she's
think that giggling is horny? What the hell, Jason?
Yes, I do. The storm
Oh
intensifies.
no, that says so much about you.
Uh-oh.
That you
Every time
associate
Jason makes
giggling
anybody
with
laugh,
sex.
he's like, "This person wants to fuck me."
No,
Oh well,
no.
okay.
y'all have the wrong idea. The storm intensifies.
Wait, hold on. Every time Jason makes someone laugh, he thinks they want to fuck him.
Too meta.
It's true. Sorry, I didn't mean to hit theories. I meant to hit.
Thank you. Yeah, that's more accurate. And also, you're right. The nervous flyer notices that there's a weird smell, which I was like, oh, because he's wearing the lei. He's like sneezing, and there's a weird smell. It's the pheromones, which is a moment of like,
Which
kind of
means he just
clarity
has
for the
super sense
viewer.
powers because he could smell the
Yeah.
pheromone that nobody else could smell.
And the pilots are freaking out up in the cockpit. The main pilot, not David Koechner, he goes under. He has to reset the breakers, they do this a couple times in the movie. Every time it reminds me of Jurassic Park, where like somebody has to go.
Well, there's
And
literally a line where the guy before he dies, he says the exact same line before he dies. He says like, "Tell them we're back in business" or whatever, you know, and like in Jurassic Park where she's like, "Mr. Tell them that we're back in business," and then the raptor comes and like, it's like literally the exact same line, which
When
is
you
crazy.
went like this, I thought
Yeah.
there was an actual hand on your shoulder because
that was me like
that
doing
was
a-
trippy.
That is very like thing.
Yeah, that's how they did the thing in the Wednesday movie.
Yeah, they
television
went on the
program.
Zoom and we are just like ding 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 ding. All right, sorry, I won't do that
Great
again.
character work.
Yeah.
Um,
Fuck. No, you know what? All I was gonna say is like also Sam Jackson in Jurassic Park.
In
He's
Jurassic
also in
Park.
Jurassic Park.
and in Deep Blue Sea, which is the Jurassic Park of the ocean.
And the snakes on a plane of an ocean.
He was kind of perfect for this film.
Yeah. Snakes in the ocean. That's
gets it
what that
reset.
movie was originally titled, and
It's
he was
true.
so mad that they called it Deep Blue Sea that he's like, I'm never doing it again.
And why are there so many sharks in this snake movie?
Yeah.
It's really just like 2 sharks, but he gets it reset. He also gets snaked and is out. Co-pilot goes down to check on him. They call in Neville. They decide to keep going rather than to go back because it would take longer to turn the plane around. Back in coach, everybody's nervous. Claire tries to calm them down. Snakes are coming out of the plane controls. Oxygen tanks drop. And the snakes are now in coach. So many snakes on a plane. Puke bag snake is funny, is a note that I wrote. A dress lady gets a snake
Hold
to
on,
the eye.
hold on. Are you just going to read all of the good attacks? Because we should just talk about this organically.
Well, I'm just setting scenes for you guys to pick something and
This
talk
is an
about.
entire scene of people just getting attacked. And if you're going to just
Well,
read every
go-
single one, then let's just go talk.
Now we need sharks on a plane.
Just imagine like the oxygen masks come down and there's just like like a huge
Shark.
fucking great white
Shark.
shark comes down
Yeah.
and is flopping in the middle. All right, B.
Yeah,
do
but
you
at
have?
that point, the sharks would be dead because they
That's
wouldn't be
true.
in the water.
Well, a bunch of water would come
Reddit.
out. B. Do you have a favorite in this initial attack? Like a favorite sort of because it is quite long. It's I think like 10 minutes long of just people being attacked by.
This is one of those chaos breaks that I was talking about because this is where shit just starts to ramp up right now.
Do you have like a favorite moment or like a favorite snake attack or like anything within this? Because it does go from like a snake bites a boob to like everyone is just being murdered by snakes within like seconds almost.
I am a fan of the initial like snake bites the people having sex because I giggled and I was like, ha, titty bite, ha, dick bite. I swear to God, I'm Nelson Muntz.
Right.
Like,
I mean, I that is
I spent most of this movie like fucking Nelson Muntz going, ha ha.
I think that like when it comes down to memorable bites, the boob bite is the one that's stuck in my head since I was like a kid.
It comes out of nowhere and it's so fucking visceral.
And it's also like
so visceral.
the way
Like,
it's
when I was
way
in
it's
the
filmed.
theater,
Yeah, sorry.
I
you go
remember
ahead.
watching that and I'm like, they're not gonna do like something like that. And then they did. And it was so graphic and so visceral. And it was just like, holy shit. Like it was like that moment where you're at the top of the roller coaster and it's just the roller coaster that goes like straight down right from the start. And you're like, oh fuck, I guess we're on this ride now. Like
Yeah. Oh, they're biting tits and dicks. Okay, so the snakes are
That's-
also pervy.
That's something I wanted to mention too in my brief history is that's something I remember people talking about. It's like a tit gets bit by a snake and a dick gets bit by a snake, and it's the payoff was pretty good. Like you're right, it was very visceral. It was very like realistic.
To bounce off of what you've just said, which is like if they changed the name, maybe it would have made more money or whatever. If they advertised this movie like a Friday the 13th or like a Freddy versus Jason or something, it definitely would have made more money because people didn't know what it was, right? Like they didn't go see it.
Yeah.
But if it was advertised to like teenagers in the way that it should have been, like a slasher camp Crystal Lake movie, then they would have went to go see it. But the thing is like that's where it kind of ends, right? The dick bites and the tit bites, they happen, and then there's no more like titillation after that, right? Like there's no sexy scene of anybody else like kissing in the closest thing is the gay flight attendant saying he's gonna suck the butt of the big giant bouncer. Like that's the closest thing we get to it. And I think that's like the identity crisis of this movie. It's like they went for a lot of different things at the same time. But I think they
That's what I've been
succeed in
saying,
most
yeah.
of them though. Like I really do.
When's the last time you saw a horror thriller action comedy?
It's crazy. It's like it's so many things mashed into this movie is insane. It's so many things mashed into one, but it does they do all of them in a way that it's like I said, like so earnest. Where they're like, no, it's also just a straight crisis film. This is the crisis. We need to get
It's
through
a
this
disaster
crisis.
movie too
Yeah.
because it's like an airplane situation in a storm. Like that's why when they introduced the storm element, I was like, that's unnecessary, and it's adding more excitement. I'm definitely more excited, but it's almost like the clear and present danger of a plane full of snakes is like enough to carry this movie. The fact that they're also going through a lightning storm, an electrical storm, is wild, because every time the snakes are attacking, the plane is shaking all over the place.
Well, I mean, that
So-
also has to do with
Everything
the
about
fact that
this though was overkill in the best ways possible.
Yeah. Yes.
as soon as anything kind of like settles for even a moment, something else goes horribly wrong. And the one moment where it isn't going horribly wrong, everyone's like, it's really fucking hot in here. Can you and then the guy's like, the air is not being recycled, and you're like, oh fuck, we're all gonna suffocate if we don't get the air recycler back on.
Honestly,
like-
that's also how you could describe my love life.
You need to
Just
turn the air conditioning
disasters,
back
it's getting really hot in here, and then more disasters.
Well,
We're all gonna suffocate if we don't
Play cool as
figure
ice
this
to
out.
calm them down.
Yeah.
You get what you want. Maybe later they get what they want. The pilot tells the other attendant about the snakes while snake chaos is happening. Neville's partner gets snaked. He has snake phobia. We see Mercedes get knocked
I gotta say
out.
that I think that his partner, most believable snake phobia I've seen in
I
a
just
long
don't
time.
like snakes.
Because the most like snake phobia that I've seen in movies is Indiana Jones, and it's always him being like, I fucking
Why did it have to
hate
be snakes?
It had to be
He's
snakes.
like, God damn it. I don't even like looking at pictures of snakes. What do you mean? There's real snakes there? No way.
I'm gonna look
That's
at
my
what
Harrison
snake.
Ford impression. I don't know if it's good. It's all right, I guess.
Ophidiophobia is the extreme, overwhelming fear of snakes that can significantly disrupt a person's life. What an interesting way to put that.
Well, I mean, that's what all phobias do. Including homophobia, you sick fucks out there who have that. Why don't you figure that shit out? What the hell's wrong with you? So we do get like almost like 3 in a row moments where they barricade areas of the plane off and then, slowly make their way up. But like the most impactful thing, I think, is when the elder of the stewardesses or the flight attendants, she like hears the baby crying, and she's like, and she immediately starts like punching out the shit, and like she doesn't even hesitate. I'm like, this lady's sick. She's gonna die a hero's death, but she is sick, and she maneuvers all the way through, and then she finds the mom knocked out, and then she realizes like, I can save the mom, but where's the baby? And the baby.
Well, I did kind of a play-by-play for this chaos breakdown. I'll get through it fast. I won't touch on everything, but Neville has a taser now. Snakes versus tasers. The kids hide. People are suffering from snake bites all over the place. The kid gets bit. And we also get a really horror movie moment where people are like fleeing to like the other side of the plane, I think to the front. And a guy's laying on the ground. He takes a heel to the ear, which is one of the most horrific
and it
things I've
breaks
seen.
off inside his head.
Yeah, in any horror movie. That was another moment where I was like, this is perfect for the Grimoire Lost page that solidifies this as pure horror, because like, why would you put that in an action movie? Unless you're gonna
Action is supposed to be like, whoa, not oh my god, there's
Jesus
a
Christ.
stiletto just got broken off inside that guy's ear hole.
And then immediately after that, G3 opens the washroom to see the two people who got killed while having sex just bloated and still connected to each other, which is also a very horror thing.
Very visceral.
Yes, pure snake chaos. And then the male flight attendant microwaves a snake and it explodes.
So
like
My
this
second favorite
Yeah.
scene in the movie.
So I wanted to ask you guys, because my brain did like 4 different things when I saw that snake button, right? Like he puts the snake in and it says snake, right?
I missed that completely. That's a wild observation.
No, B, am I right? I'm right, right? It says there's a snake button that he hit. It says snake on it, like beep, and he hits snake and it blows up the snake.
I'm now have to go back and watch because I didn't notice that.
All right.
I'm looking it up.
I'll let you guys. Okay, Jason's gonna look. I was gonna say I'll bring up the movie right now and I'll get to the exact moment.
Yeah, it's
But-
okay. I'm gonna put it right in the thing.
Okay. So this is what my brain did, was I was like, obviously there's no such thing as a snake button on a microwave. So what I thought it was almost like a David Lynch American Psycho moment where
Like he's seeing that.
he looked at the microwave buttons. Yeah, and he saw
shit.
Snake. Yeah. And so he just and like that was probably like the popcorn button or something, right? Like the one that would put it on the highest heat for the shortest amount of time. So he hit Snake and like bleep, hit it. So like that's not actually a button on the microwave. That's his brain being like, what is the highest temperature I can put this on?
Button on your microwave?
I mean, I don't.
Microwave.
I don't have a microwave, but on my air fryer, I've got a snake dial.
Yeah.
Comes on the deluxe version of the Instant Pot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I guess you guys, both of you didn't even notice it. So, but I was like, that said Snake, and then
it's a close up of it too.
Well, yeah, that's right before his finger starts slamming onto it. And it's there like for a while. Like he's like, blip, 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 and like it goes to like his reaction of hitting it, and it goes back to it. I think a couple times. So I was like, it says Snake, but like, there's no way there's a snake button. So that's what my brain did. It was like, this is supposed to be like a like a Lynchian style, like that's what his brain saw. So that's what you're going to see as the audience. But they never do that again.
I like that.
But they never do anything like that again in this movie, where it's just our brain seeing what like that character. So like, but I mean, that's the only reason it would be there, right? Why else would there be a snake unless they have barbecued snakes? And they're like, don't forget to hit the snake button. You got to defrost.
It's a delicacy. It's a delicacy in Hawaii, apparently.
No, there's no fucking snakes indigenous to Hawaii. They explain
it
in the
we
movie.
Learned that. Yeah. That's incredible. That's a good observation. I wonder if there's any other stuff like that in this movie, like that requires you to watch.
When I was watching it this week, I thought the exact same thing. Where like after that moment, I started looking for them, but like I wonder if before that there are, but I couldn't find any after it.
Like weird foreshadowing, but that's not even foreshadowing. That's just like
that's like a weird metaphorical thing that is supposed to represent his idea of what he should press, and like, but it's not even that deep either. It's not like it's not like it's made to make you think. It's just like within that moment, I'm like, oh, he that's the button he needs to press to cook a snake properly.
It must be the popcorn, because you see dinner, high, warm.
That's
high
why I
low,
said, like, because popcorn is also like the highest temperature, shortest amount of time to get the job done. So he's instead of seeing popcorn, saw a snake, like blip, hit the snake button.
The filmmakers cooked with that. I love it. That was not an intended pun. Yeah. We also see like
he did consider cooking things, putting in the microwave up until he was about 30.
We also see Troy use a tray table as a weapon. Neville starts to build a wall between the survivors and the snakes. And there's a gnarly shot of them looking out at all the snakes, which I thought was great. Kung Fu Action Man gets Mercedes on his back. They make their way to the front. I thought the dog was dead at this point, but the dog is not dead. And he gets like bit, but I think he survives while he's like trying to get her. And that's when he like grabs the snake too. Right, he grabs the snake at that point while he's getting Mercedes out of there.
When he punches a couple snakes, but yeah, he basically piggybacks her while she's smacking snakes with her bag, which I'm like, if I was him, I'd be like, stop doing that. Like, I can go faster if you're not flailing.
Just focus. Yeah. Claire's concerned.
The dog on it, and the dog has like a little sort of like handle on its back, like, which I'm like, that's a good device. Whoever invented that, like a whole
dog handle,
suitcase handle for your dog. Yeah,
I've seen that. I've seen people with that in real life. Like, why is your dog so small, bro? Because I like small dogs. Claire's concerned about the kids. He tells Neville,
"Gay," and pushes.
I would never do that. Claire finds the kids. The smaller kid got bit. Older kid. Older flight attendant. Here's the. Yep. Older flight attendant hears the baby crying, which which Steve mentioned a little bit. And she like goes out to get the baby.
She does the equivalent of like a war movie when someone's running back and like was getting like shot in the back. I'm like, no! Like I kind of wish that's what happened. Like a bunch of snakes were biting her, but like she just gets bit once, but she like passes the baby off, and then is like, oh fuck, I'm fucked. Like I'm dead now. Did she die?
Yeah, right in the spine.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
get
and a little
the
bit.
venom.
That's kind of where all the important juices are in your whole body. The spine.
Yeah, I don't get the venom going through your body at no time.
But does she die? I don't remember.
She does.
does.
There's that
Like
scene
at
where
the end,
like
they find her and the
yeah,
other flight
they
attendant
literally put the sheet
close
over,
her eyes, they
Right,
put
I
the
forgot about
sheet
that.
over her.
and she also has the speech where she's like, I was offered early retirement and I just had to be a silly flight attendant and do one more tour.
Yeah, she calls it a tour of duty, like she's a
Yeah.
Marine. But like, I do like that the other woman kind of like rises her up and says like, no, you were here for a reason. Like if you
Yeah,
weren't here,
she
my
saved
baby
the
would be
baby.
dead right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good. And you know, like I like that character, the mom sort of like level of compassion where like she had that superhuman strength to do that, because like you know that billionaire wasn't going to do that shit.
No.
He's going to throw
No,
the
not at
bomb
all.
and be like, it's a fucking dog, lady. And
It's
then
food for a snake, for an anaconda. Neville finds it takes his partner first class and he's all messed up and he ends up dying. And the pilot, David Koechner, I think you said his name was Rich, I can't remember. He basically does a little speech about keeping things going, even though things look bleak. Claire tries to find a doctor, and we get that fucking hilarious scene where they're like, "Oh, he was in 11B or whatever," and they show it, and he's just like the most bloated guy you've ever seen, and a snake out of his mouth.
Yeah.
Which was like horrifying and funny. That's this genre bending movie keeps doing these tropes, but like subverting the trope.
It's funny. Yeah.
Yeah. Neville relays the information down to Bobby Carnival, and I was right. He's the man on the ground. Okay. I'm really dumb as fuck. Info from the plane and needs a poison expert. This is the ass sucking joke next that you had. That
Are you just gonna tell us about the whole movie, or are we gonna talk about it? What the heck's going on over here?
well, like I'm going through this way because of the way this movie is set up. But
We don't need to hear about every single thing.
I know you said that already, but that's what this show is. I do this every week.
I know, and I tell you, you shouldn't every week.
Okay.
Steven, why are you dead Jedi blue right now?
Because I died from listening to all that.
I'm trying to get us.
This is Master Obi-Wan Kenobi. I've reached the Prime Minister of Kamino, and I think that there's something seriously wrong going on here.
I'm trying to get us through the center of this movie where things are just happening one after
They're
another.
trying to raise a clone army. Sorry, go ahead.
So this is where we learn that the mother of the baby, actually has some experience with snake bites, and she knows that you can fill your mouth with olive oil.
This is also
and then
one of those
suck
moments.
the poison out.
This is one of those moments that I remembered, like almost like beat for beat, but it had kind of like left my memory of watching the movie, but like watching it again, I was like, oh no, this is really gross. But I remember it also being like weirdly really good, and it is still pretty good. You know, like I don't know how accurate it is. Did you guys look it up? I didn't. I wasn't like,
no, but
let's see if this is actually a thing.
It sounds right, and also what it did for the film is it explains away the fact that these people are bit by, and we'll learn this, in fact, they're bit by various snakes who have various poisons that do various things. But to explain it away that you can,
I mean, we already knew that from all the various snakes that have different various poisons are popping out of every.
But to be able to explain away the fact that you can suck the poison out to stave off people dying, at least creates that. Like, why aren't all these people just dead who have been bit but are survivors? You at least have this thing that's like, at least these people can survive without the anti-venom, because we don't know that they haven't met the snake poison expert guy yet, right? I thought that this was an ingenious way to just be like, you can suck the poison out from most of these wounds. You just got to keep the swelly bits not swelling.
Yeah, well, there is like a slow build of everybody trying to show their snake expertise on the plane, which is clearly revealed very quickly that none of them have it, except for maybe this woman, right? Who's like, when we were children in Ecuador or whatever the fuck, we used to carry a bottle of olive oil around with us, so we would put it in our mouths and then cut open the wound and suck out the poison, and then that's what she says the oil is to like make sure this poison doesn't coat your mouth or something. She explains it in a way that
absorb it. Yeah.
She explains it in a way that I'm like, that makes sense, because like oil and water and liquid mix differently. So like you coat your mouth with the oil and then suck the poison out and then spit it out. And I was like, okay, that makes sense. And then the other guy just wanting to suck on the guy's butt. I was like, that's just a joke. Okay, whatever.
He refused to have the poison sucked out of his butt because of homophobia, which is like, I couldn't get over how stupid that is.
But then they both watch the kid having it sucked out of his arm, and they're both like, yeah, me next. Like, ding, ding.
Me next. Yeah. It was...
How do I get in line for this treatment?
Yeah, because they're perverts. There's a pervert line.
Yeah, they are.
It was gross.
It was gross, but like, it's the joke. It's the joke. That's the joke.
Yeah. Neville and Sean basically reiterate that Neville needs Sean to stay alive. And I'm going to do this once, but it's going to be all encompassing because they never actually say snakes on a plane. However,
that's when they said the name of the movie in the movie.
I'm going to speed run this quickly because I have these bolded in my notes. Plane full of snakes. Why exactly are these snakes on this plane? Snakes are on the plane, and snakes on that plane, and I've had it with these motherfucking snakes on this motherfucking plane. So they say they skirt it a lot. Nobody ever says snakes on a plane, but they definitely are doing the trope. I feel like that they're saying the name of the movie in the movie. But any one of those lines, plane full of snakes, also works for this.
I think that if you just wrote all those down in on a lined sheet of paper, you could play the game of rearranging all the letters that they would all just come to snakes on a plane at some point.
I mean, you could just take words out of the best phrase in the movie, which is, I am tired of these motherfucking snakes on this motherfucking plane.
Right. And it would all be there. Yeah. So while we applaud your work, Jason, it was not needed this time.
It wasn't a lot of work. I just wrote them down.
Oh, okay. Well, we still applaud your work.
Thank you. Thank you for appreciating something that I do. No, you appreciate me. I think. Listen, snakes are getting through the luggage. The fire extinguisher is super effective. Which
Wait, you blew through like the moment of like where actual exposition is happening, and you're going just back to fighting. This is what you want, I guess. I mean, that's fine. We can do that.
No, I mean, well, no. Like, what do you mean? Because the exposition we talked about was them like figuring out getting rid of the poison, but then the snakes start to breach the luggage.
Yeah, but then they realize they have to find a snake expert, and we talk to the snake expert, right? Don't we have that?
No, we haven't gotten to that yet.
Okay. Well, sorry. I apologize. Go on.
No, it's fine. The snakes.
This is the thing about this movie is there's so many parts that are the same part that happened twice.
You keep asking me why I'm doing it.
There's a chunk of the movie that just repeats itself again with just different stakes, or like
when they go upstairs, it's the whole same shit over.
We should
again.
just fast forward to that part. Does anyone die in between that and there? Like, if no one does, then we could just move.
I'm not going to silently read, so I'm just going to say words instead because it's a podcast.
I'm going to go to the washroom then because
okay,
I watched the movie. I don't need to hear it again. Yeah,
B can listen to me and also interject whenever you feel like, of course. But I did find it interesting. The fire extinguisher was super effective. I wish they had used it more. Then he asked for silverware. They don't have any, so they rely on broken glass. This is exactly the point where the ground crew gets to the snake expert.
Yeah, no silverware. Good thing there weren't werewolves on the plane.
Right? What if they were were snakes? What does that look like?
Then everyone would just turn into snakes. They wouldn't die. Which, honestly, I'd be a were snake.
You're kind of a were snake right now.
Kind of.
Are you
would
more
be
snake?
amazed at the list of animals I would let bite me if I could turn into said animal when the moon was full. It's a
Tell
long
me
list.
about a list of animals you would let bite you if you would turn into that animal during a full moon.
I mean, snakes, definitely one.
Right.
I think the list of the animals I wouldn't let bite me is much shorter.
Spider?
No, I'd be a spider. I don't think I'd want to be a chihuahua. I
No.
would want to be an opossum. That would be sick.
Opossum?
A were-opossum?
Mongoose. Were-opossum? Were-mongoose? Were-ferret? A
Were-ferrets, yep.
Well, that's a pretty exhaustive list, I think. Because I went like cat, dragon, sea monster. 2 of those things don't exist. But I was just riffing in my head, you know.
I'd be a were-cougar, but I feel like I'm a cougar all the time anyway, so.
Oh, man. That's hilarious. The Cougar Club.
What are you guys laughing at?
What would you let bite you if you could become it at the strike of the full moon's light?
The strike of the full moon's light?
What animal?
Yeah. What animal would you let bite you?
If I could become the strike of the full moon's light.
No, what animal would you let bite you if you could werewolf out of it?
Oh.
Basically.
And I would turn into like a human version of that, sort of like
No, like a werewolf, but what animal?
Like a werewolf. But what
yeah,
like a
well, that's what I mean. Like
were-tiger.
a werewolf is sort of like a human-esque version of a wolf, right? So like I would become like I assume like an anthropomorphic.
I
like
mean, it
two-
depends on the werewolf. Sometimes werewolves just turn.
Well, like if
into-
I let a snake, would I just turn into a giant snake, or would I have arms and legs and stuff still?
See, that's what we were just discussing. Was it's a good thing there weren't were snakes?
Right.
Yeah.
Um,
And then what would the middle morph of that look like?
I would probably let. This is a tough question that I did not expect to be asked on this podcast tonight.
That's a good point too, B. You are kind of the middle morph of a human and a snake right now.
Hey,
No,
even drew my nostrils more tippy.
I think
Well,
that you're like, when like the Animorph page flip, like
Yeah.
you're like very
That's what I
close
mean.
to human still. You're not close
Yeah, you're
to the
still on this
snake.
side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say I would let no. I have like a Rolodex of animals going through my head. I'm gonna go with like an owl. An owl bear.
Oh my goodness. That's a pretty good one.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good one. You can turn your head all the way around.
And their eyesight is amazing. And they also, they have the ability to do parrot talk, but they don't.
Ooh, and you would have access to so many bones.
Yeah. I know you
And
said
you could
who you would have so many, but I would say who? I have so many access to so many bones.
you would see the floor of a forest as like a grid where you could see every little thing moving around because of your eyesight. Yeah, that'd be tight as hell. That's
Yeah.
a superhero.
Owl.
Well, that's man bear pig.
I'm gonna go with Owl Man.
Yeah, I think spider for me.
Yeah, because you just want to be
But, like,
Spider-Man.
Yeah, I do. I do want to be Spider-Man.
But then you
listen,
accidentally turn into Man Spider, and we all kill you like a horrible werewolf. We're like, kill him! He's got
Well,
too many
Man-
limbs, and his hairs can feel our emotions.
Man Spider
Or
was
you
kind of
end
the
up
werewolf
being like the
version.
spider version of Brundlefly.
Yeah, which is way grosser. That's the horrifying version of what we're talking about right now. Is what animal do you get into the machine with?
Yeah, the fly. You just become a disgusting fly man. Don't want that. With the
No.
snake. I
What
think
would
it's
be
good.
her? Did everybody answer except me when I got back, or
No, we were just sort of discussing various
okay, I see.
animals.
All right.
I said dragon and sea monster, so those don't exist.
I mean, they could if you morphed with something weird.
Like a Komodo dragon.
You'd become that. Yeah, you become the fucking sea monster. Jason's like washes up on shore like years later, and we're like, oh my god, this is what happened to him. Oh my god, he's dead. He's been dead for years.
He middle morphed with an anglerfish.
He decided to have something.
I
that
would
with
love
gills
to be
and
an
wings.
anglerfish. Oh my god, I would love to be an anglerfish.
There you go.
No, but like you live in the deep sea, and then when you want to mate, a guy comes along, bites your side, digests his face, and then you absorb his entire body, leaving only his gonads, which you then use to impregnate yourself. You don't have to worry about awkward mornings after. You just absorb them. You'll never see your ex again, and you've got his gonads on your person. It's
But
kinda
every
great.
single
And a little
person you
dangly leg thingy.
That's true, yeah. I was gonna say, but then every person is your ex. You never have a non-ex. Unless you have a bunch of simp fish, like ding 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 around you. Those are
I
your
mean,
exes.
I
would.
think you might know what it's
True.
like to have a bunch of simp fish.
I never thought of that.
Some of them
For
are in
some
this
reason,
chat,
didn't
and I love
consider
them
that
very
point.
much.
Yeah.
And
You're
I
like,
wouldn't
wait a
absorb
minute,
them.
you're
I
talking
promise.
about simp fish? What do you mean? Yeah, that's so funny.
Amazing.
Okay. Well, I think we found everyone's answer. Anglerfish, owl, and spider, Jason. Who also
We're-
wants to be a dragon and a sea monster at the same time.
We're the new Avengers, basically, but like we're DC. We're the
The
Justice
Pet
League.
Avengers Volume 2.
Yeah. Yes. And B's like ding 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 ding. Listen, the ground crew goes to see a snake expert. On the plane, they're making weapons out of broken glass. Everything's going crazy. Bobby Carnival lays down the situation. The hospitals can't handle a plane full of people with snake bites. They have 2 hours. The ticking clock begins again. We find out that snakes won't attack unless provoked. So the expert tells them that there's got to be a pheromone, which there is. Hence the guy having issues earlier with the weird smell, which we talked about. Delays are the issue, which we also saw. And Claire's getting yelled at by the people on the plane. I really don't like Claire when she gets like. I like Claire. I don't like when she's getting yelled at by the people on the plane. I think it sucks for her to have to go through that, and it sort of underlines the fact that like this was kind of just like the older lady flight attendant was like, you know, I had one week till retirement. Claire also has a similar trajectory where she's like, this was like my last flight. In the beginning of the movie, they're like,
I mean, this whole
literally-
movie is just filled with cliche cop tree. Like every single thing that happens to everybody is like a cop cliche. But like, I think that her being yelled at by everybody, she's like, I think it's meant to show her wherewithal to the point that we can imagine her actually like working in a courtroom and having like the thick skin to deal with it, right? Like, because we've been told right up front that she's going to be a lawyer at some point, right? And now she's going to go back to lawyer. She's going to take the bar or whatever, and with this experience of having to fight snakes on a plane, she'll never lose a case forever. Like she'll win everything that she ever does.
I was on the plane with snakes, and everybody applauds. And then she wins the case.
I'm not saying she would use it to her advantage, Jason. I'm saying that it would give her like a solid fucking base of like mental fortitude that she could deal with anything. I didn't mean that everyone's going to be like, that's the lawyer who fought the snakes on the plane. That's not what I meant.
That's what I'm saying, though.
That she's going to use it as like I don't know if I might just be a small town lawyer who fought snakes on a plane one time, but you know,
now she's gonna fight all the snakes in the legal system.
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect. It writes itself, truly. The snake expert tells them that the snakes have a myriad of species. He needs to know what all of them are, and he says basically, go get the dead ones. And this leads to one of the dumbest things I've ever seen in a movie, which is, I don't know if you guys have ever flown on a plane. You both have told me about flying on a plane. I don't know how hard it has been for you to have internet on a plane, but we all know that your regular cell phone in the year of our Lord 2025 cannot access Wi-Fi because you're above all the towers. This woman, Mercedes, has a Palm Pilot, one of the first ever cellular telephones
I'm
that
going to
can
stop you right now, Jason.
even access
Like,
internet
you think that the plane? How do you think the planes communicate?
with their own, like they
But
have internet.
they also make you turn shit off, right? Like, and you have to connect to the internet that's on the plane. Like, you're not
that
allowed
you have to pay
connect.
for. But when
Exactly.
you're up on a plane, your phone doesn't get 5G, is what I'm saying. But her plane, before you could even
I mean, you're
purchase,
just telling on yourself here. Jason does not put his phone on airplane mode when he's in.
of course
the
I
airplane.
don't. You don't
Oh my-
have to.
Jason is a terrorist. We need to call. Hold on, Shaft.
Listen,
Shaft, is that you? Yeah.
my point is it's 2006. Wi-Fi barely is invented at this point. It's only been, I think, commercially in homes for 5 years.
Listen, man.
And
There's a
she
point in this
pulls
movie
out-
where she pulls out a camera phone, and it's like the height of technology.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Everybody's like, if only we had some sort of way to broadcast these images back to the expert. She's like, I have a
Yeah,
Palm
but, like,
Pilot.
look at this plane. This plane probably
It's like the
had
best
early
plane you could
Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Okay.
How
Even
does
the
it
billionaire is like, and how are we supposed to do it? Fax it to him from a fucking fax machine on a plane. And she's like, ever heard of email, asshole? Like, she basically puts him in his place. I'm not saying you're wrong, Jason. What I'm saying is that the movie doesn't give a shit about your point.
Okay. I thought it would be funny to point that out. We'll move on.
What was going to be funny about it? Do you have a punchline? Tell us what the
The
punchline
punchline
I also
is
love that the snake expert is the really wienery guy from High Fidelity.
Yeah. He's also
True.
from like a bunch of, he also plays Wiener in a lot of things, but like he does a good job of being like, why are you making me do this? Or you're like, okay, calm down. You could save a lot of lives right now. He's like, I don't want to.
Yeah.
I have like a whole clutch of eggs back there that I was incubating, and I really want to see if one of them hatches tonight. Do you have an assistant back there dealing with it? I do. Well, then don't fucking worry. You've got human lives to save. He doesn't care about human lives. But
there's
he
also
does, as soon as it elevates, he does. Sorry, go ahead.
No, there's just gonna say there's also the bit with like Sean wanting to be like the hero and save the day, and at this point Neville's like, if you die, all of this is for naught.
For nothing.
You have to stay up here and not be Action Man. That's my role in all of this. So naturally he gets into the mix. This is when we see the snakeskin boots bit. I love that. He gets up and falls into the hole. Now nobody's flying the plane. So as Neville's identifying the snakes, all of the Palm Pilot stuff happens.
Can I ask you guys this one question? When he's holding the snake and he's like, you know, before they start.
I don't know. It's teal.
All right, never mind.
No.
I was
agreeing
gonna
with you. Oh.
say he's like holding it and he's like, it's green and brown, but like the render that we're seeing in the movie is like purple and blue. Like that's what we're seeing visually. I'm like, I don't think he can. Did he know? Did they like do it as a joke? And then the other guy comes up and says teal, and I'm like, that's not teal either. Like my whole brain was like, no, it's purple and blue. I don't know. I feel like I would have been really good at describing the snakes to the snake expert over the phone.
Do you know what's funny about that? I also felt that way. I was like, all of these snakes are so varied and look very significant in their color that if I was asked to explain a snake over a phone, I'd be like, yeah, it's got bands of red and white and black. And they'd be like, perfect. What's next? You know what I mean? Like, not like, I don't
bands
know.
of red and white and black is also very important because there's a snake that mimics that exact snake that is way more poisonous than the one that is red and white and black. So you'd have to be very specific if it was like a thin red, white and black, or a thick white, red and black. So like, I just wish I was the guy being like on the phone with the snake expert being like, okay, the next one, and I would know exactly what to do. I felt like they were
Also,
giving too much responsibility to Sam Jackson.
I feel like
He
you'd
should
be
have
good
been-
at it, Steven, but I think we're learning that if anyone is good at over describing things, it's Jason.
That's true. Yeah.
That's what I do. This is
Jason
interesting.
would be trying to explain the colors, but he'd be talking about everything that's happened around way too much detail. You're like,
What's interesting about this,
the colors of the snakes,
and it comes into what we're talking about here with me over explaining. I learned in Costa Rica that some snakes have, if they're poisonous, I think their breathing holes are in the bridge of their nose, and if they're poisonous, they're at the sides of their nose, something like that. There's a way to differentiate whether a snake is poisonous or not poisonous, or poisonous versus venomous. Help me out in the chat here, because you can Google it. But thank you for recognizing that I over-explain things. Neville and Claire pull
I'm
up.
just repeating what Steven's pointed out like 3 or 4 times.
You've been on the show before. You know what you were getting yourself into.
I did. I cleared my entire evening.
And I'm trying to go. I'm going fast. This is
all right.
What
happens in the next massacre of everyone?
Every
single person.
Claire's fighting a snake. The plane starts to go down. Claire takes out a snake with an axe. Neville and Claire pull up on the plane. Oh yeah, they get into the driver's seat and they pull up with the plane. Sean saves Tiffany from a rolling cart. Snakes are going nuts. They get everybody into first class. Nervous guy, and we'll get to what happens with that. But nervous guy couple, they get snaked. More deaths. This is another snake breakdown or a chaos breakdown.
It's a snake break.
There's a massive anaconda introduced to the mix now.
This part was
it an anaconda or a boa constrictor?
Let's just call it a fucking anaconda.
Because it reminded me of the anaconda from.
Listen,
Anaconda.
The snake expert was not on this plane, and I don't think any of us are snake experts. Not this kind of snake, anyway. Whoa!
Hey, our guest
I bit my tongue, and I wasn't gonna go there. I'm glad somebody did.
I had to. They call me the snake handler.
Your thoughts?
Eats and on the streets. So it's sad. It's sad. It means I'm in a tough spot. So anyway, we get introduced to an anaconda through the air light or the light system, right? It's like they see it and then it like breaks and falls down.
Yeah. And meanwhile, at the same time, the weight of all the people on the stairs causes the rails. It's a boa. Causes
I don't know, but
I thought you said it's a boa.
No, I said I don't know if it's a boa. I think it maybe could be like. Why would an anaconda would be wild? That's too big. Maybe they're like maybe too big for this plane.
The weight of all the people on the stairs causes the rails to break. People are getting impaled, which a couple of like nuts horror movie moments here too, where somebody like literally just is impaled on a broken metal.
Like you expect Jason Voorhees to be the one delivering these kill blows, but they're not. Yeah.
And then a
lot of it is just clumsiness, like people tripping and just like, yeah.
The businessman is throwing a tantrum, and as the anaconda sort of rears its head, he whips the chihuahua right into its mouth, and as more chaos and smashing is happening,
this is the moment that we all realized that we hated this man more than we thought we did. I think, because I love a good little dog. I love a little good dog. And this dog was only barking at bad people, you know? He was only barking at the billionaire, and he was only barking at the rapper who was being like a predator. He was flexing predatory behavior, and the dog was barking at that. He never barked at anybody else. So we knew the dog was a good guy. And then we see the dog get thrown by this billionaire into the snake's mouth, and he immediately, I mean, she does a good job of like freak out, right?
Yeah.
Would you guys agree?
I would agree.
She's like, I hate you so fucking much. She starts punching him, and he's like, you would have done the same fucking thing. It was just a fucking dog, lady. And like, you know, as soon as anybody like flexes that attitude, unless they're in a moment of absolute grief, where they're trying to deal with it traumatically, you know, like the only time I can forgive somebody for saying it's only a dog is when they're trying to like collect themselves emotionally, because they know it's not a dog, but they're just saying it's a dog or it's a cat, and they're just trying to say that to themselves to get through it. I can't handle it. If somebody says it's just a dog, like it's a fucking piece of luggage or it's like a shoe leather or nothing, like I hate them. I hate them with everything in my heart.
B, could you do me a favor, B? B, could you tell me about what happens to the businessman? I think that you might enjoy explaining what happens to him.
Oh yeah. For what I'm assuming is the first time in his life, he gets deep throated. He gets swallowed. That anaconda just like onto his head, and just like it is so satisfying.
I assumed that almost every time anybody's put his penis in their mouth, it was a deep throat, because there's not a lot of dick there. You know, that's what I was thinking. Like he probably had like one of those stumpy little wiener.
It's a deep tooth. Deep
But
tooth.
it's not a deep throat because it's not going deep into the throat. It's not
It's a
even
deep
going
tooth.
shallowly into the throat.
It's just called like a, what would you call it?
Through
then?
the lips.
Through tip of the tongue, the
Tongue-
teeth, the lips. That's all you
A
get.
tongue dive.
All right.
Yeah, he gets constricted and eaten head first. Excellent.
But he also
chaos.
has like a humiliating moment later where his like half his body is being digested and he gets sucked out the airplane, which
Yeah.
we could talk about. That
Oh,
later.
that's why it looked like that. I was like, why is the snake so stubby as it flies out? I
'Cause it
just
has a
realized.
human half
a
eaten
human-
inside it. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you. Excellent. You just like, I've been thinking about this since I saw that scene. I didn't go back and like watch it in slow motion, obviously, but I was like, why did it look so weird? I thought the snake had like,
I mean,
For
I've
some
only
reason-
seen the movie twice, and I knew what it was on the first time I watched it. But I guess I was watching it in a movie theater. Were you watching it on your phone, Jason?
never. So the plane falls below 1,000 feet. They barely get to go back up. The pilot is still alive, but he's bit up pretty bad. Snakes are making up the stairs, but they cap it off with a life raft.
Which is so good. I like this
Yeah,
raft
That
part.
was really good.
How do you feel
Yeah.
about the raft part?
I loved it. I thought it was great.
I think it's such like an interesting way to seal an area off, or like it would seal it pretty. Like the snakes might be able to get through, because I feel like snakes they're like cats almost, like they can probably just like meld through things. I feel like the snakes would be able to get through that,
They
but
can flatten their bodies. I've
Yeah.
seen it happen. It's terrifying.
you could probably still like you could have people on raft duty. Like anytime a snake gets through, you just stiletto it. Like that one guy got the stiletto in the ear. Just it's almost through. Kill it. Yeah, I like this part, but I'm gonna say that this upper part of the quest to get home is less interesting for most characters, but there's like a good couple of moments in it. We got the kid that Keenan, what's his name?
Kenan Thompson.
Keenan Thompson, like
His name's Troy.
yeah, but he like sits down next to the kid and he's like, "Help me beat this video game," which is like clearly just him trying to help the kid like
Calm
de-stress,
down.
but also like maybe probably helps him a little bit too, like just to like take his mind off of shit. Like I'm gonna sit with this kid and like get him to help me with my video game, which is very sweet and kind and nice. And then we also have the rapper has his freak out at this point, which leads to one of the best moments in the movie, which is "Sit your ass down, Clarence," because everyone keeps calling him Clarence and not 3Gs anymore, and I like that. I like when somebody gets called their real name when they have like a stupid performative name. Other than those two moments, though, I don't think there's anything really up top here that like is of great circumstance, other than the one kid drawing, because they're taking the photos of the snakes to send to the specialist, and the one kid draws the snake because he's like the snake that bit, we couldn't find it, so I drew it, which is pretty cool, and he does a good job. It's a great drawing. That snake looks pretty much like the one that bit him. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? I mean,
Yeah, and we get the bit with the expert. He's on the ground, kind of back and forth with this stuff. And Bobby Carnival's like, the Zeus might have an antivenom. And then they also have the thing where they figure out that since there's no snakes native to Hawaii and also they're rare in Los Angeles, that there's got to be a dealer that
like a
would
snake
have
breeder, yeah.
a snake breeder that would have the snakes. So they kind of go down that line. The pilot has actually slowed the plane. And he's gonna have to go to the he's gonna have to send somebody down to cargo to get the AC back on, which is something that's happening around this time as well. Like you said, 3G's freaking out. He wants air. He takes Neville's gun in a scuffle. Troy's the voice of reason at that moment. And also there's the whole bit with the older lady flight attendant, which we talked about. She does pass away at this point. Claire and Neville go on the air mission. Well, Neville does. Claire has made a flamethrower device because she used to be a pyromaniac. Neville's gonna go, and this is another Jurassic
Wait, Neville
Park
also says you too. Like he was also
Yeah.
like he liked to burn shit. Like they both like to burn
I
shit when
mean,
they were
we've
kids.
all had a blight arson phase.
Yes, I definitely did. One, you know what I used to do? I used to take hairspray and 2-liter Coke bottles and fill the inside and like light the opening so it'd be like a jet engine. It was awesome. I burnt myself real bad and never did it again.
I will leave that up to you two. But I love fire now. Like I'm very good. I'm a very good fire handler.
Well, you love to, keep the campfire alive. I know that about you.
I also will put my hand in there and everybody's screaming at me, like, get your hand out of there. And I'm like, I know how long I can hold a flaming log before it's painful. What are you talking about? What are you talking about?
That's what they called me in high school.
Flaming log? That's what we've been calling you for the last 3 weeks. What do you mean that was your name in high school?
Why 3 weeks?
Because
Happy Pride Month?
you started dumping those flaming logs everywhere.
I liked Happy Pride Month better. Steve just left. He's like, I'm out of here. So yeah, another Jurassic Park-esque sequence in the cargo hold. We see 3G apologize. Neville finds an access door rigged open for the snakes. He finds the lever and the snakes also he finds, I guess. And he finds I wasn't sure what this was. So the thing that he pulls out of the luggage, is that the harpoon gun that he uses later, or a different device that he uses to
Harpoon.
bash? It is the harpoon that he uses to bash
He does
on.
both. Yeah, it's both.
Okay. Thank you. I couldn't tell. And the
Did you
AC
say
comes
fuck
back
you?
on.
I'm just kidding.
No, I said I couldn't tell. Fuck you. So now he has to fight 100 snakes, and he utilizes the harpoon gun. So that's great.
He actually doesn't have to fight that many snakes down here, but he does a good job of dismantling all of them. Like I'm like
Yeah.
proud of him every time. Like good job, good job.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's got the stick with the broken bottle, which is like such a brutal way to fight a snake, but also pinpointing a snake with a harpoon gun is insane. How you do that? I don't know.
That is some serious shaft shit.
Yeah.
Shaft
That is-
shit.
You know what? I'm gonna have to say that's shaft shit. I got it
appreciate.
beneath not that exciting. It's whatever. It kind of feels supplementary to the exciting bits in the movie. If you enjoyed this moment of the movie, there's no hate towards you, but I don't think it really did anything for the course of the movie. It almost extended it to like an 8-minute extra edition where I'm like, it would have been more exciting if he disappeared and we just heard him being like, holy shit, there's snakes down here. And you're like, of course there are. They could have done something more interesting about it.
Steve, the next sequence is the snake expert and Bobby Carnival finding the snake seller. So why don't you outline that scene, and I'll be
I
back.
love this moment, but I have to ask, I mean, Jason's gone, but I'll ask you, B. So when they come down to this compound or whatever, and the guy's like running out and he's like comically like rolling and like waving a gun around, and then he gets inside this barn and they like have sort of like a shootout with him, like, and it's like shot like a David fucking Fincher movie. Like it looks good. The lighting is good, and like he's hidden under his hat and like the shadows are shadowing over his face. And there's snakes everywhere in all these different sort of like cubbies and I don't know, like terrariums, I guess. But like, did you not expect him to be like a well-known actor, or like maybe not well-known, but like an actor that is revealed to us just based in the amount of time that we don't see his face all the way up to when he finally like his cap is revealed.
I don't think I was, because that wasn't a trope that was used a lot back then.
See, I think it was because like maybe not in the action movie sense, like in this movie sense, but like things like all the Will Ferrell movies and like where when a cameo was like sort of a big deal. I thought it was going to be something like Jason Lee or someone being like, like, or, someone from like a comedy movie, but he's playing like this sort of like dirty, grungy. I thought it was going to be.
That never occurred to me.
I thought even watching it this week, I was like, is it like my brain couldn't even remember this moment where I'm like, is it going to be somebody that I recognize? But it's just some guy. I think it's the way they filmed it. Like if they had shown him like looking up from like a cup of coffee and seeing the helicopter coming or something, like I maybe wouldn't have done that. But the amount of time from when they're like flying over his base to when they finally reveal his face, I thought it was going to be something a bit more impactful, but it wasn't. It really wasn't. Considering there's so much back and forth with like the anti-venom as well, you would want to have somebody who can like sell that scene. But I mean, it's not a bad scene. I'm just saying I kind of wished it was somebody, Kevin Spacey. We all hate that asshole now, right? Who would you have liked to have seen? How about that?
At the time, I think the one that would have the most impact would have been somebody like Chuck Norris.
Whoa,
that's incredible.
Because that is also when all of the Chuck Norris internet jokes were happening.
He's also like, one of these snakes bit me a few weeks ago and it latched on for 4 days. And after 3 other days, it fell off and died a horrible death.
It's funny that you said all
I bit it back and it couldn't handle Chuck Norris venom.
Yeah. Also, you want some lemonade? I picked the lemons off that orange tree and made apple juice or whatever.
Jesus. It's funny you said that, Steve, because I actually had the same line of thinking that you did. I was looking like, who is this?
I've seen this movie before.
Yeah. I was like, who is this reveal going to be? And I agree with you though, B, like, this is kind of before they inserted cameos.
It's absolutely not though. This is the thing, is that cameos were in its like biggest, glorious, and most intense phase between 2002 and like 2013 was when like cameos were like a crazy thing. And this movie seems like a movie that would squeeze a cameo.
True.
Like it almost makes me upset that it isn't. And I think the only reason is, I already said it, is that the way they film that sequence of events, because he's hidden, he's shadowed. It's almost like they shot all of that stuff and then got up to that point, and then the actor who they had hired, like Jim Carrey or something, being like, like he couldn't make it that day, and they're like, oh, Jim Carrey can't make it. We gotta just film it with Rick over here. Anyway,
the snake handler, he ends up getting bit, and they find the anti-venom in the fridge, and they're like,
yeah, he points it out to them because he's like, how much time you got? They do like a good sort of like back, and it's a very one of those crime drama shows where it's like, you've got 4 minutes to live unless you give us the fucking questions, the answers to these questions or whatever.
It's also a little reminiscent of the opening interrogation at the beginning, where they're like, let's cut the shit and get right to it. You have 9 minutes to live. Tell me everything I need to know about the
squirting him with the anti-venom. He's like, you're wasting it. You're wasting the anti-venom on my face.
But he's basically like, there's a clipboard over there. I've got the anti-venoms. And I wrote, there are some video game things in this, but I think it was just like this whole sequence. Never mind.
Where they're running through a barn and shooting at each other. You're like, I've seen a video game like this once.
And he tells them basically the whole plot. Like, there were pheromones in the air system, and we did this so I could, help out the
Yeah,
crime lord
he
and
explains
all
the
that
whole
stuff.
plot to us that we already
Yeah.
know, which is like,
Yeah.
okay, thanks, man.
And basically at that moment, though, Bobby Carnival's like, we have Eddie Kim on multiple murders now because of this connection, which I thought was awesome. Why don't we get a moment of the cops arresting Eddie Kim or something?
Well, we
Because-
talked about this already, and we all agreed that we are happy that didn't happen.
Yeah.
But we all, I think, can agree that what's his name? Bobby Carnival, is that his name?
Well, that's his name in real life.
Yeah, where he's like, he's on the phone. He's like, yeah, get Eddie Kim's lawyers on the phone, his fancy lawyers on the phone, and ask them to ask the question to Eddie Quinn. What does he prefer, lethal injection or gas chamber? And then
Yeah.
it like cuts away, and you never see him again either. I don't think
But
till the very end.
Bobby Carnival's name in this movie is is fucking Hank Harris.
I mean, they should just make his name his actual name in every movie he's in, because that's
Yes.
such a good name.
Yeah.
Bobby Carnival.
Bobby Carnival, and he's always the same. He's one of those character actors from the history of film and television. He's just the same guy and everything.
Yeah, he's like kind of doofy looking, but he's also kind of hot, and he's like big and large. So you're like, oh, that adds to the hotness. You're like, okay, he's just like a big hot guy, but he's also
Oh,
like
stop
good
being
at
so horny
acting.
about it.
I'm just saying. He's Bobby Carnival. I'm just saying I want to have a day at the carnival. You know, what's
No,
wrong with
just-
that?
It's giving you a hard time. They have the anti-venom. Now they just have to land the ship. But the pilot's dead, and there's a million snakes in the cockpit. Troy is a pilot, I guess. So
No,
I
he's
watching this the first time. No, I know, but watching this the first time, when they did that moment, I was like, oh, because he plays video games. But then they like weirdly bury the lead long enough that I was like, oh, because he's like, I have over 2,000 hours flight
Well,
time.
because
And
you
I was
wouldn't
like,
admit that.
I know,
Would
but
you admit
I
that?
was tricked. I was
You got
tricked by this.
what? No, you were right. You thought the correct thing immediately, which is like because he plays video games,
Yes.
and then because he was burying the lead and not saying that it's because I have flight simulator hours. So you weren't tricked. You knew exactly what was going on.
Yeah, true.
And then, so the people in the movie were tricked. You weren't tricked, Jason. You were smarter than fucking Sam Jackson himself. And you know what? He looked at you, Jason. He said, God damn it.
It comes to a very important point in this film where they never actually say the name of the movie. However,
That's when they said the name of the movie in the movie.
they don't say the name of the movie in the movie, but they say the line that
Are
is
you allowed
very.
to hit that twice? I don't think we're allowed to say hit that button twice in the same movie.
But this is very reminiscent of a Luke, I am your father moment, because it's not what anybody has ever said on this podcast. The line is specifically at 1 hour, 45 minutes, and 36 seconds. Samuel L. Jackson says, I have had it with these motherfucking snakes on this motherfucking plane.
Fucking plane.
I have had it. Which I think is I think this is in the league of those.
Did you think it was snakes on a motherfucking plane? What did you think it was?
No, well, B, you said it's the same but slightly different, and the way that B said it was the way that I think the collective unconscious remembers it. Is I'm
tired of
sick.
this
I'm
motherfucking
tired, or I'm sick of. Yes.
snake. Right.
So I think it's not a Luke, I'm your father, not necessarily, but I think that it's worth mentioning that people get this line wrong, and it is
It's true.
such an important
We
movie.
have to make sure that the future generations
You remember
of
the motherfucking snakes on the motherfucking plane, because
There
that
you
is
go.
what the theme was, and that is what got added to the movie post.
And for years, I remember people saying, how did all of these motherfucking snakes get on this motherfucking plane as well? I remember people saying that line a lot. So I don't know. I just wanted to be very specific and also nail down the time code. But I actually thought he wasn't going to say it also. I should point that out. I got this far into the movie and I was like,
You're like, Is it just a trailer line? Hold on.
Or is it
That
like
the movie?
a misremembered, like,
You thought
Luke,
it was
I'm
from
your
another
father
movie?
moment?
Like the
Yeah.
Mandela.
Another movie.
or a Mandela effect? Yeah,
Oh God.
but that's not. I'm knocking everything over. But
We
that's
don't
not
call
the
it that
case.
around here. By the way,
We don't believe in the Mandela.
we call it a Howie Mandela.
That is
Thanks,
beautiful
World
and
Mind.
terrifying.
Roll credits. They strap in because it's time to open some windows. After they go through that whole moment earlier of being like, if we discharge a gun in this plane, then we're gonna fucking
We're all gonna die
yeah.
immediately.
And then they're like, you know how we get the snakes off this plane real fast? We blow a hole in the window and everything
well,
not nailed
I mean,
down
in their
flies out
defense,
the window.
none of this would actually happen if you did that. But at the same time, they did, like, a lot of people died. So they're like, okay, we've got enough people that we can strap them in and, you know, hold on for dear snake life or whatever. But yeah, I mean, the end is dumb, but it's exciting. Like, it's an exciting moment. And the rules of everything requiring like
Nobody
air pressure.
goes to a movie called Snakes on a Plane
Yeah.
for the realism.
And like, I can't imagine myself watching this movie ever and being like, this wouldn't happen, because like none of this would happen. Like nothing in this entire movie would happen.
The only thing I was angry about was the Palm Pilot, and that's because I'm in tech. So bully for you guys to tell me that I'm wrong.
Oh, Jason, I can't believe you revealed that to us. That's really
Well,
strong
who
of you to
cares?
reveal that to us, but at the same time, go fuck yourself, you stupid dildo.
And to be fair, I
Harsh.
just really like telling men they're wrong. It's Pride
See,
Month.
See, be perfectly fair and honest, but calling me a stupid dildo is too much.
No,
Never-
the reason I called you that is because you said, because I'm in tech. Well, go eat your own ass. How about that? Can you do that?
Isn't that a line in this movie, or is it something else I was watching? They're like, touch your
No,
ankles and eat your own
me and Jason were talking about the best lines of this movie, and I saved the one that I actually, because he said this is the best line. I'm like, no, this is the best line, and then I have my real best line that I'm gonna save for when we get to talk about it later.
And I haven't said my favorite line yet. We're getting to that. Neville and Troy get to the cockpit. The plane is getting worse. We get another chaos sequence with snakes flying out a hole, and it's all a video game. Oh,
It goes on for a long time, but we don't need to go through every
No.
type of snake that gets sucked out. But we do
right.
see.
I'm not going to mention every kind of snake.
But we do see like the billionaire, the one who got half eaten by the, I guess, anaconda, gets sucked out in the anaconda, and it like hangs on the window for a second so that you can see his legs like, and there's like an indication that he might still be alive, which is crazy.
Steve, can you do a dramatic reading of this line?
What is it? The antagonist should have said, I'm sincerely excited for all these snakes on this really cool plane.
Perfect. The point I wanted to make about all of the Troy stuff is that it's revealed that he's done all of this in a video game. That's where he's got his 2,000 flight hours. And then he mentions it's on a PlayStation 2. And then another silly thing about this movie is that flight simulators don't have like a high score. That's pedantic.
I would say
Anyway.
though that he says that his experience
like,
is
brother
on a
got a high
flight
score.
simulator,
Yeah.
and then Sam Jackson says, "Is that Xbox or PlayStation?" And then he says, "PlayStation 2, high score." And then he starts like talking about it. But you know what? Have you ever played a flight simulator? They're pretty fucking hard. Like, because
I
there's
know,
a lot
but
of,
there's no high score.
there are high scores. Jason has never played a flight simulator.
I have. I can fly this plane. I played Star Fox 64.
Dual barrel roll.
Dual barrel roll. Listen, my
You
favorite
just
line in the
yelled the
movie.
same line I yelled
We did.
after I yelled it. You
We
dirty
yelled it at the
pervert.
same time.
I don't think so.
Don't call me a pervert.
I called you a dirty pervert. Okay, go ahead.
No, that's actually fine. While they're trying to land the plane, they're talking to comms. There's also the comms being like, can we get an actual pilot? Because I don't give a shit about some guy that's played a video game. which I thought was very funny. As they're landing the plane, I really like that Sam Jackson yells, "Turn this bitch motherfucker left." Troy, and his voice cracks. "Turn this bitch left, motherfucker." Troy, hold on a second. Let me do this dramatically. "Turn this motherfucker left." Anyway, that's my favorite line from the movie. Police and doctors, they make it to the people. The plane get off. The survivors get off the plane. There's triumphant music. Luckily, the kid's picture of the snake identified the snake that bit his brother. And right at the last minute, a snake gets Sean. Is that his name? I've said it 100 times. Yep. And then I literally had a moment where I was like, oh, does he just die and all this is for naught? But no, it's revealed that the snake hits his chest, bullets hit the snake, he's wearing a bulletproof vest, and then oh, hi Handos crew. Welcome. He's from the server. The server is paid off.
They paid it all off. We're not allowed to leave until you guys pay off our debts.
Yeah.
Society.
But yeah, he isn't dead. He had a bulletproof vest on, and he's like, "Oh, doesn't that sting?" Which I thought was great. Oh, big reveal: male flight attendant is not gay. He's got a girlfriend. To be frank, I am a random guy. Hi, Frank, or Bob.
It's Fank, I think. There's no R.
Hi, Fank.
They call me Fank. Fank's thousands, if you want to get serious about it. Well, thank you for coming, Fank, and we can't thank you enough for being here.
Can't thank you enough.
Yeah. I want to say that the end of the movie kind of spooked me a bit when he because I had forgotten about that shot to the chest. And I was like, oh my God, they're going to think that he shot him. Thanksgiving. Oh my God. I thought they were going to be like, they're going to think he shot him. And then I realized that there's 2 minutes left in the movie. I'm like, no, there's no time for that. There's no time for them to be like, put your hands on your head, Samuel L. Jackson. But then I was like, wouldn't a bullet go through a snake? And then we obviously see that he had a bulletproof vest on the entire time in the movie. So maybe he got bit so many times, and like, when he's like running around and helping people, like the snakes are biting his torso. He's probably just getting bit a million times, and it doesn't matter.
Well, he's probably good.
Good thing you didn't get bitten on the arm or the leg.
Yeah.
Or the
taint.
anywhere else where there
anywhere.
isn't
Yeah. He's like, I have
the more readily available appendages.
I've got my bulletproof diaper on, my bulletproof chest piece on, and that's it. But these limbs, they're disposable.
So now comes the section of the movie where the movie ships all of the relationships. Did you guys think that Claire and Neville should have ended up together? I thought it was unnecessary to do this at the end, but I thought it was fine.
I think that sorry, go ahead, B.
I really don't think, like, this movie had so much going on, and like, I'm a slut for romance, don't get me wrong, but I'm a slut for a lot of things. It's pride, baby. But I really don't feel like we needed to shoehorn any sort of romance in here. It felt just so unnecessary.
That's exactly
and then he got the girl, and then he got the girl,
and then he got Sean and the other flight with Tiffany or whatever. They kiss, and he gets her number.
Yeah, there was like a certain sort of like level of cuteness that I kind of liked between Sam Jackson and the main flight attendant. Sea snakes.
I think I liked Sean and Tiffany or whatever her name is more than.
I don't like that you played all that during my answer, but okay, go ahead.
What?
I think I would have liked it. I would have been okay if they kissed, because there's a moment in the movie where she's crying and he goes up and he like comforts her in a way that is like very sort of like special and interesting, that I'm like, oh, is she? Oh no, they're not. This is not like a romantic thing, but he's like comforting her in a way that no one else is able to. I don't, when like she's crying and he like grabs her by the face and he's like, I need you to help me. He's not. I think I may be looking too much into it, but like I think that he's kept feeling connected to her, like in a way that I don't think that he feels connected to a lot of people. Or maybe he just does that all the time as part of his training. I don't know. He is Shaft after all.
I don't know, but like it's also just trauma bonding.
That's true. Yeah.
That's
like, what do you
a
guys
good
have
point,
in common?
But it's
apart
okay to
from
it's
trauma
okay to
bond?
it's okay to give somebody a smooch after trauma bonding. Like I would be okay with him kissing her at the end, and it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to get married or anything. It just means that they went through something together and they're allowed to kiss. And I would love to see the two of those characters, because like they were working together the entire time. But I also would have loved to have seen him kiss fucking young white guy. Like why not let them kiss? Those two guys were the entire time working together and talking about how, like, if you listen to me now, then everything in your life will be better. Like, they should have kissed too. Like,
The romance.
Yeah, there is a bit, and they go surfing. That's the gayest thing you can do with another.
Well, that's a bromance too, right? Yeah, they become surfer pals, because he's like, what was the first thing you ever said to me? You gotta live. And he's like, exactly. And he tells Samuel L. Jackson, you gotta live, by taking him on a surf adventure. And then I was like, a sequel where they're bros doing it.
But the unfortunate reality is that like he goes with him at the end of the movie, so like they're not on a gay adventure, they're just on like a fun boys adventure, whereas
their girlfriends are just on the beach being like, ha, ha, ha.
Yeah, like there's no love for him, but then there's no love. I mean, I kind of like that he doesn't get any love either. Like it would have been really bad if it was like the surfing was him and like the flight attendant, because that kind of like removes the urgency of both of those characters, because like they're just trauma bonding. That's real trauma bonding, whereas he's just like, I made a friend, maybe, like, let's go. Anyway, I don't know.
Well, that's the end of Snakes on a Plane.
It's Snakes on a Plane. There's not that. We don't have to think about it that hard at the end.
There's like too much and not enough or something. And Hondo, you know what? Love the bromance.
Yeah,
love the bromance.
Do you think that was actually Sam Jackson surfing at the end? That's my real question.
Well, he never stood up on the board, so maybe like just swim out there on the.
No, it does like a camera pan behind, but then there's like a moment where you're like, that's not the same shot, and then it's like they're like, and I'm like, that could just be any. It could be any two people.
True.
I mean, it couldn't be any two people. One of them has to be black and one of them has to be white. But like, it could be like any two people that are of those.
You went right to it. Yeah, you're right. That's the movie. Also, I need to mention, we talked about it at the beginning, but there is a music video during the credits, which you don't see very often.
And we're now going to watch it in our entirety because Jason downloaded it. Absolutely, he did.
I love this song. This is actually one of my gym songs.
Your gym song?
I did download it. Oh, here's the music video.
Oh my God, Jason.
That was
not
funny.
even
no, that was Snake and a gay.
Who's
you
gay?
downloaded the wrong video.
Oh,
fool.
Well, should we go into our final thoughts, or Home Alone at all, and our?
Yeah.
If you had to pick one,
what do you think the Home
when
Alone of it
is
all?
the Home Alone of it all?
Can someone please tell me when the Home Alone?
I really
got
gotta know.
When is the Home Alone of
What
it all?
is the Home Alone of it all? Now that's the Home Alone of it all.
Every week that goes by and we listen to that final thoughts beat, I realize we are a Christmas podcast based on the metrics.
Merry
defined.
Christmas. I am
Merry
Santa
Christmas.
Claus, and I'm here to tell you a very important story about Christmas Eve.
So, B, you've been on the show now. This is your fourth foray into this nightmare. You understand the concept of a final thought. You understand the concept of a rating. Let me reiterate to you the Home Alone of it all. It's essentially the idea that in the movie Home Alone, when Kevin McAllister slaps down the blueprint, he creates a horrible funhouse for the nightmare people to come and get destroyed by. That's the part of the movie we're sort of all waiting to see. So, from your point of view, in the movie Snakes on a Plane, what is the part of the movie that you were there to see? And then, in addition to that, your final thoughts and your rating.
Okay. So I think the Home Alone of it all, for me and for a lot of people, was the Samuel L. Jackson. I am tired of, or what is it? I am tired of these motherfucking snakes on this motherfucking plane.
I've had it.
I've had it. Right. You know, I watched it today. I recited that line like with the movie on my Instagram stories, and I've still fucked it up twice. But it's that line. And I went in to see a bunch of snakes bite a whole bunch of people. So I'd say that's the Home Alone of it all. Rating, that's the number, right?
Well, whatever you want. Also,
Yeah.
your final thoughts as well.
What's that?
Your rating can be whatever you want it to be, whether it's out of 5 or out of 10 or just some nonsensical rating, but also just like your final thought on the film as well.
Right. I mean, I love this movie. It has a very personal connection to me and my lore. But also like it really was the birth of the internet being able to influence pop culture. And, you know, there's something to be said for that. And I mean, Samuel L. Jackson chewing scenery and killing snakes for an hour and a half doesn't hurt either. I'd give it 5 swollen venom covered thumbs up.
Well, B, you know, I can't wait to have you back because you'll get your very special playlist on YouTube. And I thank you for coming through tonight. This was a great episode to have you and to see you. So thank you. Steve, you know the drill.
Well, I mean, my favorite moment in this movie, I guess my Home Alone of it all, is as soon as it's been years since I've seen it. And as soon as they were like spraying the Lay's down with the pheromone, and they're like, this shit's gonna make these goddamn snakes go wild. I was like, okay, all right, I know what's going on here. But I already knew that, right? Like, this is a thing that it was just refreshing my memory for it. So, but I do remember watching that for the first time and being like, this is it. This is when things are going to get pretty wild. But when that door bursts open, like they had like a charge in there or something, where it like blows open all the Lay containers, like everywhere, flowers go everywhere, and snakes fly out. And then one snake goes in and kills the cat. I don't like the cat killing. I actually hate it so much. It made me uncomfortable yesterday. It made me uncomfortable the first time I ever saw it. And I hate the idea of a cat being killed by a snake. But that is going to be my Home Alone of it all, because that's when I knew if they can kill a cat, you don't even see the cat, but you hear the cat dying. That's when you know the movie's begun. Because they're too brave to kill a cat like that. When it comes down to my final thoughts of this movie, I think that this is one of those things that you can't judge a book by its cover, as Jason did for so many years of his life. He never thought for a second I should watch this movie, but I watched it the day it came out and I fucking loved it. And I watched it a few times after that, and then I forgot about it. It disappeared into my mind. But the idea that somebody like Jason can go through his entire life without actually understanding what the movie is, and then see it and say like, wait, this movie's actually pretty good. Like that is sort of like the goal of these types of movies, right? Like a movie where somebody presents you something and then you're avoidant to it for so long, and then you see it and you actually like, wait, this is kind of good. This kind of rules. Like that makes so much sense to me in terms of like how movies should be made. But you know, it's not going to happen anymore. And a giant jungle snake isn't going to change that. But yeah, I think that this movie does a very good job of an action movie, a horror movie, a science fiction movie, maybe a little bit, and a thriller. Like it wraps everything into one little neat package for you to be like, I'm going to eat this, but I'm probably going to feel sick afterwards. And you know what? You will feel sick afterwards, but it's worth it. It's worth it to eat it to feel bad later. You might not regret it, but you might regret it. Who knows? It's like McDonald's, you know, when you're feeling sick, you eat it for some reason, like a medicine. Does that make sense?
It does.
All right. Well, that's
what's your rating? What's your
my rating? I'm gonna give this half an eaten rich guy. Not a full eaten rich guy, but like a half eaten rich guy.
Very good. Thank you, Steve. I really like this. Thanks, Tim. I really like this. Can't judge snakes by their plane. Listen, my home alone all this week is in all caps. I wrote snakes on a plane, which I thought that's what it's going to be. But really, it's when they make it upstairs, when the survivors sort of transition to upstairs, and the shit just goes wild. Also, another home alone of it all for me would be like the chaos moments, all the chaotic shit happening all over the place. I really enjoyed that. My final thoughts are as such. This movie was definitely more serious than I was expecting. All these years, I thought it was a campy, self-referential parody, but it is more of a serious action horror thriller, more along the lines of a Jurassic Park. It obviously has its problems, but there's enough cheese to really level it out. And I was really expecting Soul Playing with Snakes. This is not that. It's pretty well shot, and Sam Jackson is good, even if he's basically just Shaft again. I think if it was called something different, it may have been more well received, which we debunked, and may be remembered better, which we debunked. It felt like one of those. It felt like one of the last 90s style action things all the way in 2006. I think I really enjoyed the element of the film that I'm calling Chaos Breaks, which I referenced a couple times during this review, where things just seem to go insane for 5 minutes and they just show a bunch of stuff happening between story beats. I give it a 3.1 out of 5. I recommend it to anybody looking for a fun watch. Definitely a watch with some friends over drinks if possible. I give this movie a chaos sequence out of a story beat.
Oh.
But you can't judge I give this movie, you can't judge a plane by its snakes. Yeah. Pretty good, guys. Very good chat tonight. I really appreciated that. I do love a bromance. Why don't we hear about our plugs for this week and then GTFO?
Sounds good. Do you guys want the full zap or you want the half zap?
There's a full and a half. I thought there was only a half.
No, I was just trying to buy time so I could find the full
All
app.
right, let me just plug this in right here and.
B, why don't you tell us what you have cooking?
Right now I'm just preparing some new costumes for some cons. If you want to keep up with everything I'm doing, I am Overlayer B on all platforms, literally all of them. You can find me there. You can see what I'm up to. You can follow my cosplay progress. Yeah.
Awesome. And I've wanted to ask you, Overlayer, Overlair, does that imply that you are on the overlayer of a potential underworld?
Okay, so that is the overlayer is what my friends used to call my house because my nickname amongst my friends was the Overlady for so long. And then when a couple of my Overlady accounts got zotted, I'm like, well, I'm B. What do I call myself? Toronto B? No, there's like 1,000 Toronto Bs. Okay, Overlayer B. That's very specific about where I live. So yeah, it's just my house. My house is.
I got it.
It's really lame.
I like it. I like it.
It
No, it's
sounds
not
like a
lame.
boss. It sounds like a boss character.
Yeah, exactly. I always think of
That
that video.
Guy that I have. This side of me is just a stink. I even made my nostril pointy.
Oh my god, I didn't even notice that part.
Who the fuck is Bob?
Who the fuck is Bob?
Boba Blackfly.
Oh.
He wants
B is a boss character, absolutely.
Show us your snake side, please. If you can show the snake nostril, please.
Let's explore in the depths of this video. Yeah. Well, thank you, B, for coming on. You're welcome back anytime, obviously. You're the most winningest guest that we have, I would say. We top out at a high number when you come on, buddy. Steve, what do you got cooking on your back burner? I think you might have a video that you want to play for us, I would say.
Yeah, we should probably play that. I'll talk about my stuff first and then I'll play it if that's okay. So I do voices for Darth Theorist. I'm the voice of Darth Theorist. If you can believe it or not, we can explore the depths of it in the video. But we can also talk about what if Palpatine was so gay. No, I'm just kidding.
What if Jar Jar Binks was shorter?
Yeah, Jason. Maybe try again. What if Jar Jar Binks was cool? How about that? How about
what if he was taller? Okay, sorry. You go ahead.
What if he was a baller?
And what if
he had a girl that looked good? He could call her.
See, this is...
What if he had a rabbit and a hat?
No, he can't remember the rest. But
64 Impala?
64 Impala.
64 Impala. Yeah.
Oh, what you think? It's me, Jar Jar Binks.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
So we go to Darth Theorist, Three-Eyed Theorist, and then we think about the fact that I'm doing other stuff, which is cool, which is Stanland. Can we talk about that?
We can. Let's do it.
Stanland is an audio. I mean, I can just play it. Yeah, let's do that.
From WSUS Raleigh, I'm Milo Goddard, and do I have a story for you? In the fall of 2022, a podcaster by the name of Melanie Hughes went missing. A few weeks later, by the side of a road in Poolesville, Maryland, a digital recorder belonging to Melanie was found.
The wardrobe is a portal?
Yeah, though technically the portal was there first. Mom built an IKEA wardrobe around it. It's the Florida Flula model. Some of these changes, wow, not sitting good with me. Everything's a little too modern.
So let me understand, Zangia was a simpler place, but in the past 12 years, it's become Myrtle Beach?
I am Azran, king of Zangia, hence retired. Now I rule nothing. I forgot to introduce you to my guest.
Bobby? Look, I'm bringing this dump into modern times, and you morons are gonna help me.
We're stuck here as his servants unless we find some other way out.
I suggest you head to the dreaded dungeons of Chiorotha.
He's called the Dark One for a reason. Dread spreads across the land upon his growing shadow, or something.
Hello, guests. Greetings. Come in. Come in.
Get me home. Open the portal. Get us both home. Me and Melanie. I'm done.
You're not going anywhere.
Stanland is a 5-part audio fiction series featuring Bobby Moynihan, Ray Seahorn, Steve Little, Tim Sharp, John Hamm, John Waters, and more.
You're not going to want to miss Stanland. Available this summer on the Sonar Network and wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe now.
That is
I noticed,
so cool, dude.
I noticed two things during that. Mark Little is on the.
I noticed that Mark Little's
list.
on, which makes me be like, can I talk to him now? To be like, we're on the same thing, man.
And he's been on the show before. Also, I noticed that B did a full costume change during that somehow.
Not a full.
I thought you had dyed your hair blonde.
It's a wig, Jason. Jason can't understand wigs and hair.
I don't understand wigs.
They were real.
But yeah, that looks awesome. Look out for that. I think in July,
September, I think is when
September.
Yeah. But yeah, I do like a bunch of orc voices and elf voices. Most of my elf voices are very excuse me, can I see your identification? That kind of, it's very sexual.
Well, it's apt that Threk is talking about Skrulls because it's very similar to that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm excited about it. I hope you guys are too. But yeah, I'm doing that. But also don't forget about Darth Theorist and don't forget about Three-Eyed Theorist because I love doing that and I do it every week. And I'm going to keep doing it for as long as I can because I love it.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Steve. I would like to tell everybody about this show that you're watching right now. It's called Hey, Did You See This One? Right here on the United Federation for Podcasts. You can find us each and every week right here on Twitch and YouTube at 8 p.m. It's the best time. It's the best time that I've ever seen. Everybody's talking about how good the time is that we do this show. I'd also like to let everybody know that I am the announcer, the single solitary announcer for Super Kicked Wrestling here in Toronto. And next Friday, not tomorrow, but next Friday, we have a show coming up, and it is called What Everybody Wants. And in the main event, listen, I'm so pleased to announce that Al Snow, yes, that Al Snow, is going to be challenging for the Super Kick Championship. We also have a myriad of other great bouts that you'll be able to see. The Super Kicked Kings of the Six Championships tag team titles are going to be on the line, as well as an eliminator match, a one match with Tarek and the Vision Orion, a women's match, and Super Kick 420 champion Chris Chambers is going to put his belt up against Bhupinder Gujjar. So I'm glad that I actually get to show this because it's very rare that the match card is put up on social media. So I'm glad that you can all see it right now. It's going to be a great show. We love Double D's. They're a great tag team. And also do.
I mean, I assume that these two giant men are going to crush all these little tiny men easily.
Well, no, because they're going to fight each other. They're not going to crush the people below them.
Oh, are they not? Is that not to scale?
It is to scale. That's why the champions are going to wrestle for the title.
I see.
That's usually a trope in wrestling. In addition to that, you can find us. I already said that part. Our very own Stephen Waters makes some great images for this show that you can find on television.
Yeah, I'm a man of many talents. I can do voices like this. Ooh, I can do voices like this. I can do voices like this. Wow. But I can also draw.
That's
Yep, the Grimoire Familiar Killer shirt you can get on TeePublic and Redbubble. You can get this guy. You can get Kill-Aid. You can get Twinkerbell for all you
Whoa.
Pride Month
Jason
lovers.
was about to say something crazy.
What do you think that I was going to say?
I don't know, the F slur probably. You sick.
Yeah, good one. Listen, Zardos is here. The Howie Mandela Effect is here. You can get all these on shirts, and someday you'll get Corporal Tunnel Syndrome on a shirt that you can purchase from one of our various outlets. And in addition to all of that, we love you, guests and viewers alike. So guests, come back. Viewers, come back. So
I don't know. I was going to come back, and then you made it weird, and you told me you loved me, and
Yeah, that's what I felt too. I was like, "What?"
You wouldn't be the first person to do that to me. Listen,
Really
I need to
wants to feel loved by other people that isn't, in his whole
I know.
house.
may I suggest that the next movie we watch together is called Just Friends?
Really?
Jason.
Is there one called The Friend Zone?
Oh, I thought you meant Just Friends with Deadpool. Or is that the movie? Anyway, look, B, I'm gonna put you on the hot
But
seat.
I was also being a dick.
Yeah,
That's fine.
But I
You
mean,
can-
you pulled it from what I've been doing the whole time. I love that. That was so good. I felt like I had someone on my side for once.
Is it? Am I not on your side? Listen, okay, I don't care. I don't care. I don't care.
Jason, we're just joking around, man.
I can't
Pull
remember
it
what to do
up,
next.
What would you?
B. There's one question that needs to be asked each and every week. I think you know what the question is. Please ask it for us right now.
Hey, did you see this one?
Goddamn friend zone to my own show.
What do you think this is? This is the friend zone. That's why we're here. You dildo.
No, we're going to all have relationships with one another. That's what the show is, I thought.
I can't have relations with men during Pride Month. It's biphobic.
I agree. I agree with that. I can't have relations with anybody during Pride Month because I just want to spend the whole month masturbating on my own. And that's how I
Beam up some Star Trek content with Live Long and Podcast. Tune in to X-Rated, the X-Men animated review show. Artistic interviews with graphic histories. A roundtable movie discussion with Hey, did you see this one? And movie reviews with Hold Up, a movie podcast. And while you're at it, spin a few records with Eamon on Track. Watch us duke it out on trivial debates. And let's chat about TV with the Super Mater Brothers. It's all here on the United Federation of Podcasts.
Man, I'm just sitting here thinking about how nothing could be worse than 9/11. Boom! 9/11!